This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. Lots of football talk today. We will get to some hockey as well. Ken Wiebe is going to join us for his weekly visit on the program. We're also going to talk Bombers, a little NFL, some fantasy football. Josh Frey-Sam of the Free will be joining us first. And we can't forget about baseball. Big one for the Jays tonight as they try to win another series. And, of course, the Goldeyes looking to go 3-1 against the Kansas City Monarchs, who they're chasing for first place at the ballpark tonight. Just looked outside. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you have no plans tonight, get down to the ballpark. It's the place to be. We'll set up the final weekend of the regular season at home for the Goldeyes with Andrew Collier and longtime friend of the program, Andy McNamara, is back. I figured now is about the time to check in on the misery index of Cleveland Browns fans before the season even starts. Andy will join us later on in hour number 2 of the program. Should be a lot of fun. We've got a Bomber depth chart to get to, which we'll dive into in just a minute and hear a little bit more from Coach O'Shea and more from the Bombers. But I do want to thank our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet just finished up the lock shop. Patty's cooking up a nice exclusive. We need Jays to win by 2 tonight, Brewers to win by 2. That's going to be the ride with us. Feeling good about this Jays team in the finale tonight. Nathan Lucas last night, 3-run shot was all they needed. And what a game by the relievers. Another relief game. The Jays have done this a few times over the past couple of weeks when they haven't had an available ready starter. Shane Bieber on the 15-day L, no problem. There's a group shutout last night. Well done to the pitchers. But as I say, we will talk Goldeyes and more with Andrew Collier, who is coming up a little bit later on. But you can check that out at Coolbet. And I did, the guys are now having some fun cutting up our picks from our big NFL Futures show last week for social media. My pick of the Bears to win the NFC North at plus 350, making the rounds right now on socials. And the guys are having way too much fun with AI. I will just say that when it comes to some of the photos and whatnot they're putting out of us when they get going. Also want to thank Princess Auto, Chudd's Power Sports, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, Assiniboia Downs, the newly reopened Santa Lucia at 1473 Main Street. Great to have that open again for the people there in West K. Of course, Rowley's Transfer, Assiniboia Downs, St. Vital Dental Center. Special shout out to Dr. Terry. Squeezed me in this morning. Had to get a little dental, a look from the expert on something before I went away for a week. And we will get to a Why Not question of the day. I think this one today is going to be supplied by Milt Stiegel, who, of course, is a Not Autocorp guy. The Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, how are you doing? How's the battle? How's the battle going with the poison ivy that you were gifted from your week of holidays?
Yeah, did you mention fantasy football? Here, I got to show off my my trophy here.
There it is. The Media League champion.
There it is.
It's actually an awesome trophy. I don't know why the top of it keeps getting cut off.
Let me just edit some filters on my camera. But yeah, we had the draft last night, and shout out to Taylor giving me the trophy. I won it. So I'm going to be having this on my shelf all season. I'm super pumped. But yes, it was tough to do the draft last night because I was dealing with some poison ivy. I had to race home and put ice packs on my leg, and then I just passed out on the couch finally after getting some relief from the itching. Like putting shoes on was a struggle. So I'm dealing with it. Went to the doctor this morning, got some new medication. I'll be good for next week. I'm battling, but I am feeling a lot better knowing that I now have the Winnipeg Media Fantasy Football League Championship trophy in my possession. What a trophy, hey? Every league needs.
They did a great job of that trophy. That, of course, is the Ted Wyman Trophy.
Yes.
Shout out to Ted, who I still think back to that first year we did this. And if people don't remember, we started the Media League. Taylor Allen was the commissioner. And it was, especially the guys that were covering football. So Bombing and Darren and Hammer and Ted. And then, of course, Ted had his battle with cancer. And Ted was a middle-of-the-road team. And Ted passed away, midway through the season, which, of course, shook us all. He was such a great guy. And we said that Ted's team would not make any trades or anything like that, but we'd make sure that his lineup was set every week. And looking back, Remo, that was, again, it sucked if you were playing against Ted, but he posthumously went on a run through the league and incredibly won the championship, looking down at all of us losers, laughing at us in heaven. And it was a very easy decision for everyone to dedicate the trophy and the league to Ted, the first ever champion. And of course, it was kind of magical the way he won it posthumously.
Yeah, as the winners of this, Josh won the first year, then Ted.
Okay,
and then we did have some beverages and food last night in Ted's honor. So nice to get together, do an in-person draft, see everyone, but most importantly, take possession of the Media League trophy. I'm going to show it off to my wife. She's going to be really proud of me.
Absolutely. You know what? Great. You may be one of the most decorated members of the Winnipeg Media. You can stick that trophy on the mantle with the 2014 Media Home Run Derby Championship. That's probably better than, a Hall of Fame nomination. Something that you actually went out and earned. And then, of course, you took it last week. I'm coming for Remis Island. I like my team from last night. I was picking 11th. I'm still mad at Connor. I knew the second we did that marble race and the two of us were 11 and 12, I knew we would be picking each other's pockets all night long. I had hoped that my guy James Cook would have made it past Connor in the 12-13 spot. I had the choice between the two guys I really wanted, Cook and Puka Nacua. I knew there was zero chance Puka would get past Connor, so I picked him. He grabbed Cook, so I ended up with Puka and Jonathan Taylor. Still quite happy with that. But that's a real neat league. I know we talked to Thomas Tipple about Superflex and 2 quarterback leagues yesterday on the program. If you have one coming up and you missed it, great little bit of advice from one of the brains behind fantasypoints.com. So I do like my team. Josh had the first pick. He took Jahmyr Gibbs. So we'll dive into a little bit of fantasy and the Media League talk when Josh comes on a little bit later on. As I mentioned right off the bat in the open, Remo, big win for the Jays last night and a big win for the Goldeyes as both of those teams push forward. The Goldeyes in a much more comfortable position when it comes to being in the playoffs, though, than the Toronto Blue Jays do, who are still 3 games back because the Cleveland, I was about to call them something else, the Cleveland Guardians have won 7 in a row right now, and you knew that at some point one of these 7 teams was going to get hot. And it is imperative right now that the Jays keep pace because with the teams that are in that mix, 3 is a lot. You don't want to give up any more ground to Cleveland, who is playing some great baseball right now.
Yeah, here we are approaching the end of August. We're in the home stretch here. Basically, every game, a playoff game, and the Jays are 3 games back of the Guardians. I think it's going to be tough with so many teams in there, but hey, they're all 5-5 in their last 10. Maybe, just maybe, they can go on some kind of a hot streak here in the final month and leapfrog the Orioles, the Rangers, and the Guardians. Amazing how, so many of these teams in the race below 500. The Guardians are 68 and 66, but the Rangers and Orioles 2 games below. The Jays 4 games below, and even the Mariners 4 games out, and Twins 6 games below. So none of these teams very great. You're going to be susceptible, losing streaks, winning streaks, inconsistent play, and that's kind of been the theme here of the Jays season. But nice to see what Louis Varland shutting the door yesterday. Man, he's been good, and getting some action there from the top of the lineup in unexpected places. So a nice 3-0 win last night for the Jays over the Royals.
Yeah, I was unfortunate. I couldn't make it in person for the draft because I had my my home league auction as well. So I was kind of working both sides of the screens, but I had the Blue Jays on. It was just a brilliantly pitched game by the bullpen. But I'm looking at Cleveland. They beat the San Francisco, who's not particularly good this year. Then they swept Colorado, who's terrible. They swept the Angels, who stink. Now they get the Royals. Now, the Royals have been terrible all season long, but they're 9-1 in their last 10. So you hope maybe Kansas City can do a little bit of damage against Cleveland on the weekend. And then next week, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of September, it's the Jays at Cleveland. Huge, huge series. Because when you look at the rest of the work to be done for the Guardians, their schedule looks very similar to the Toronto Blue Jays. Not a lot of good teams. Detroit, Baltimore, the Twins. White Sox are good. And then the A's, Boston Red Sox, who are in a playoff spot, and then finish it up at the K in Kansas City. So scoreboard watching around the AL on a nightly basis right now for the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll take a look at the pitching matchup and more when we get you ready for the evening and the Coolbet lines coming up in just a little bit. But Remo, big one tomorrow for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They have not. I should go back. I don't know who I'd ask about this. When the last time the Bombers were a touchdown underdog at home? And it has to be 2018, maybe 2017, if not earlier. We're probably looking at close to 10 years since the Bombers have been as big of an underdog at home. And there's a good reason for that. They have been very up and down, unfortunately more down than up, although they are 5-5 on the season. But it's the Montreal Alouettes coming in, and they have been an absolute bulldozer for the Canadian Football League. Only the Elks beating them in overtime earlier this year. That's the only blemish on the record. They come in with the best offense, the best quarterback, the best receiver. And it does seem like it is a tall task for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But as I always say, that is why they play the games. But I am interested in the levels of optimism amongst Bomber fans because I think it was Milt Stiegel, as I mentioned, who sort of provided us with the why not question of the day today for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray.
I did enjoy this post on X from Milt Stiegel, who did pick against the Bombers on TSN last weekend. Rightfully so. They were underdogs on the road, and they ended up losing. And he says, this one is for all my Blue Bombers fans. I hate picking against the Bombers, so somebody give me a reason, any legitimate reason. Convince me. Give me the facts, the stats, the ammunition. Why I should pick the Blue Bombers to knock off the Montreal Alouettes. And I reposted that because I also would like to hear any reason. And the CFL is a crazy league. Wild things happen every week. And maybe the Bombers somehow reach into their magic bag and find a way to put together a full game the way they played the first half last week against Edmonton. We hadn't seen it this year, but could be one of those wild things that happen. So Montreal touchdown favorite, maybe they cover, but I think that is an accurate line. And a lot of talk this week about, the Bombers' offense and inability to get, plays, big plays of over 30 yards. And I saw John Hodge writing 3 Down Nation, the Bombers last in the league at 30-yard plays with only 10. And there's Montreal at the top of all teams with 26. The Bombers' offense, just moving the ball at times been a struggle, but can they just find a way to get some consistency in their game for the first time this season?
Good stuff. Just looking at the chat today. Look at this. Narv, the main event, is back in the chat. What's up, Narv? Haven't seen him for a while. Great to see another one of the incredible, legendary characters of our crew at TSN 1290. And the good doctor is here, Dr. Terry. Great to see you. You were the man. Shout out to our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Tiquanapali, giving Remo some love. Remo is the most versatile media member, no doubt. Home run derby winner, fantasy football champion, and more. And then, yes, with the why not question of the day, Rubik's Pube says we'll be down by 2 scores at half.
You just
I didn't catch that until the end of the name. You got me there on that one. Matthew, I cannot think of one. We will see, though. Like this one from Boring Sean Monahan. Payback for the 2023 Grey Cup. We will take it. But yeah, and you know what? Credit to Hammer. We played this yesterday on the program. But we had a great conversation on the Bombers and just what's missing right now. And I had said, listen, a lot of it is the quarterback play that the Bombers have had. I do feel like Zach has lost some zip, some pop on the arm, if you will. And it is maybe like the deep throws seem to take a little longer to get there. It's just been a lot harder when he's been in, to get Ontario Wilson involved. Look at the difference between, the targets and the catches when Drew Brown's been playing with Zach. Now, Zach adds a lot more in a lot of other areas, but the bottom line is right now, they're kind of playing like this offense seems like they're playing with one hand tied behind their back when you compare to the way that BC and Montreal and Saskatchewan and Calgary are able to air the ball out deep. And it's the CFL. It's great to have an awesome running game and all of that, but you got to be able to throw the football. And, it just seems like the Bombers are at a deficit in most of those situations against those opponents. So we'll see if they can cook it up today. I'll tell you what, if we know one thing, Reem, they will try to hit some deep plays this week because every time there's been a big conversation around the Bomber offense, why is Brady not getting the ball? He's not getting the ball enough. And then they went out and I think gave him the ball like 12 of the first 13 plays last time. Don't be surprised if what is being said in the media resonates inside that room with the coaching staff and they give the people what they want. And put it this way, you're going to have that if you want to beat the Montreal Alouettes. A deep threat. And whether they can pull it off, I guess we'll see. But, in my opinion, in addition to getting Brady going and that intermediate passing attack, that needs to be established and then take some deep shots and try and get those big chunk plays. Because, as I said on CFL 110, on this program coming out, it just feels like the Bombers – most teams have running game, short passing game, deep passing game. It seems like the Bombers only have 2 of the 3 right now. And that is a very, very difficult equation to beat well-rounded teams and excellent teams like Montreal that's going to be here tomorrow night.
Yeah, you look at the Bombers' pass game. They are, according to Pro Football Focus, and this is via John Hodge, they're 6th in the CFL with 69 completions of 15-plus yards, ahead of only Calgary, Ottawa, and Hamilton. Toronto and Montreal, they've got way more. They're much better at moving the ball in big chunks. 91 and 90 completions of 15-plus yards. So the Bombers, they're well behind other teams, and I'm kind of curious, are they going to try to chuck it up? I felt like they tried to do that against Ottawa early, but it really didn't work. And then they said, okay, we're just going to throw it to Tim White and Brady Oliveira in the short pass game. And it worked really well against Ottawa. And I didn't see a lot of that, especially utilizing Brady Oliveira in the pass game against Edmonton. And, we'll see how many touches he gets, but that's a conversation that we've kind of had all of last year. It's a conversation we've had this year at times. And I don't expect the Bombers to magically throw the deep ball. If you do look at a couple of their long completions, it's been yards after the catch. Maybe they scheme, more stuff like that, some easy completions where guys can get open in space and run. But the offense, I think it's been a challenge for them this year. You heard Brady Oliveira say trying to figure out what they are, what they do well, and I feel like they couldn't really get to that last game in the second half, and that's why they didn't get any first downs on the 2 possessions they had in the third quarter, man. We talked.
The talking, I point to the deep passing game just because it's missing, but everything was missing offensively in the second half of that game. A first down was missing for 25 minutes. So lots to get to. Listen, Remo, fire up number 6, if you can, from yesterday. This is Mike O'Shea on the Bombers being last in plays of 30-plus yards and just a real lack of explosiveness, seemingly from the Bomber O. Here's what the head coach had to say on the topic.
Well, we want them. There's the metrics that everybody looks at. Explosive plays will be one of them that you need to be good at and better at it than we are right now. So sometimes you dial up shots and they're just deeper than you are, and it doesn't work out, right? But you try to get your guys matched up and get them into single coverage and try and scheme things, and sometimes you got a good call and they've got a defense for it. So I think there'd be a variety of reasons. If you look at any of our shot plays, I think you would, you look at each play individually and you would see a reason why it did or didn't work, and we keep working on the things that didn't work and try and get them better. I think explosive run plays are really about, downfield blocking, making sure that once we get to that next level that their receivers are inside, and they've done a great job from the beginning of the year, from training camp to this point. They've done a great job at working at downfield blocking and getting on the right leverage and working through an entire play, because the explosive runs, by the time it gets to them, it's a long play already. So, for the receiving group to keep working that long through a play is pretty cool. They've done a great job of it.
All right, so there is Coach O'Shea. So listen, they're going to need to be a little more dynamic offensively, and all sides of the football, special teams, defense, offense, is going to need to be at their best to be in this game, and they're going to need to do it for 60 minutes. Not wait till the second quarter to get their act together, and sure as hell not have a great first half and then do what they did on Friday. Here is Mike O'Shea on reasons to believe that they can figure out an elite 60-minute performance.
Sorry, clip 6?
Clip 11. We just did 6.
All right.
First off, I'm extremely pleased that there's a level of awareness that we need to execute better. That's the start right there, right? If they know, if there's some self-awareness, then they're working on it. Then they're checking their process. They're trying to fit little things into their process that's going to allow them to execute at a higher level more consistently. So that right there tells me we're on our way. Like I said a second ago, I said we're close. And I've said it for a few weeks, we're getting down to fine details here and refining processes, and I think that's why I think there's so much hope, and I'm excited about it.
I guess as a follow-up then, considering it's more than halfway through the season, do you think that you guys should have already kind of gotten to that point of executing and having a complete game by now?
Oh yeah, as a head coach, you would love to say that. We're just not there yet. So what am I going to do? Rue the last 10 games, or are we going to look forward and try and be better, right? I think that's where we're headed. We're headed in that direction, and we'll get there. Later than some people like, for sure. Later than the team wants, than the players want, no doubt. But we're not going to stop trying.
Did you think it would take this long, I guess, going into the season?
I usually don't put a timeline on anything like that. There's so many other factors that come into play in a season that you cannot foresee or account for, right? You just can't. So you take every week as you get it, and you look for improvement. You look for some of the small wins outside of the game that you're like, this guy's in the right direction. This guy's heading in the right direction. This group's heading in the right direction. So there's, like I said, there's so many factors that you just can't plan for necessarily. If you're thinking about how the season's going to go, I think you're wasting your time.
All right, there is Coach Mike O'Shea of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We're going to be joined by Josh Frey-Sam from the Freep. We'll get his thoughts on where the Bombers are at right now and tomorrow night's game, and we will talk a little NFL. And take a look, see how everyone feels about their squad from last night. Want to thank our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical for their support of WST. Of course, Clean Line supporting the Bombers and excited for another year with the Winnipeg Jets. Clean Line are Winnipeg's leaders in residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical services, and have been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. And you see Adam Lowry there in the Clean Line spot. Well, like Adam Lowry on the back of his teammates, Clean Line has yours with 24/7 emergency services around the clock throughout the year. Remember the number, 204-500-2001. When you're in a jam, Clean Line is on the way. You can also make an appointment at cleanline.ca. Our friends at Manitoba Battery are ready for the big game tomorrow night. Manitoba Battery powering the Bombers this year, and I hope they've got a great battery, fully charged for the beginning of the game, and maybe even a backup one for halftime. So what happens on Friday doesn't happen again. Of course, you will have no such battery issues if you get down to Manitoba Battery, your local option where you'll save money, you'll shop locally, and you'll get the best deals in town because Manitoba Battery beats the pants off the big box stores. We know how important it is to support Canadian and support local right now. Manitoba Battery makes it easy with 2 locations, Logan Avenue and Dovercourt Drive, and they will also deliver to you the best deals in the city. You can order online at manitobabattery.com or give them a call with citywide delivery options as well. Keep it local. Save money. Manitoba Battery, the best in the biz for all of your battery needs. I'm very happy that our pal Roberto and his staff at the Santa Lucia on Main Street are back open. 1473 Main Street. Of course, they were out of action for just about 2 years dealing with a big fire. The amount of work to put the restaurant back together, to do a brand new lounge and restaurant, beautiful patio was extensive, but it's done. And Santa Lucia is now open again at 1473 Main Street. So speaking of supporting great local businesses, Santa Lucia is certainly one of those. And a lot of other options in the West K area right now. It was very important they got out. So pop by, see him, say hi to Roberto and his great staff, and enjoy the great taste of the Santa Lucia at Main Street, now reopened at 1473 Main. I do want to shout out our friends at Rolly's Transfer just before we bring Josh in. If you got a move coming up, folks, you know where to go. Rollies.com. Rolly's family owned and operated for over 60 years, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, and they can help you with your next move. What you're going to want to do is check out their website, rollies.com. Click on Request an Estimate. That is where you'll put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies for Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners. Then let them know when and where you're moving, what needs to be moved. Friendly staff at Rollies will turn around quickly and get you locked in with a great quote for the white glove treatment and service that Rollies is famous for, now into their 7th decade. So for all your moving needs, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. All right, let's welcome in the inaugural champion of the Winnipeg Media League and the man who was on the clock at the beginning of it last night to pick number 1 overall, Josh Frey-Sam from the Winnipeg Free Press. JFS, what is going on, my man? How are you?
Hey, Huss. Hey, Remis. Appreciate you guys having me on, man. I am still a little bit cheesed I'm happy with the team I ended up with, but I'm a little bit cheesed last night. Remis, I think I counted 4 times. It was just snipe. snipe. Like it was over and over. And I think is because we kind of had the same strategy going as far as letting the quarterbacks fall a little bit to us. But that's also on me. I got to be aware that he's obviously ahead of me on the turn every single time. Right. And I obviously clearly wasn't. And I wanted Brock Purdy, for example, and he sniped Brock Purdy. And then I wanted Baker Mayfield, I think a couple rounds later. And he got Baker Mayfield. And I think there was a couple of other ones as well. So it was just a repeated snipe, and it hurt me. It hurt me, but it is what it is. I'm happy with my team.
I had the exact same thing. I mean, you were 1, Remis was 2, I was 11, Connor was 12, and it was just haymakers back and forth all night long of guys that you want. I was joking right off the top. I mentioned that, at 11, my first pick, Puka Nacua, was there. The guy that I had my heart set on was James Cook.
Yeah.
I thought there was a chance I might get Cook in the second round. I knew there was no way Connor would pass up Puka Nacua. So I took Puka. He took Cook. I settled for Jonathan Taylor. Not the worst situation, but it was good. Listen, we'll get back to the fantasy in a minute, but we've been talking Bombers right now. I know you have been following this real closely. This is a tall task at any point going up against the top team in the league, but what do you make of where the Bombers are right now and what we saw last Friday in a 30-minute performance that was as good as anything we've seen remotely this year by the Bombers, and then a second half that could not have been much worse, certainly offensively, where they could do absolutely nothing for the first 25 minutes until all of a sudden they're trying to find a way to get some points and not lose that football game, which, of course, they did on the buzzer.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that because I feel like I might be one of very few people, maybe in the country, who left that Bombers game against the Elks rather optimistic in a sense. And maybe that's a little bit of a hot take. And the reason being, Huss, is because you said 30 minutes. I'm going to call it 25 minutes in the first half because the last 3 possessions went 2 and out, kneel down.
Good point.
So it was like 25 minutes for that first half. That 25 minutes was the first time this season we have seen the Winnipeg Blue Bombers play anything remotely close to a brand of football that could challenge the top teams in the league, that could challenge the Edmonton Elks, dominate the Edmonton Elks, that could challenge the Montreal Alouettes. And if they do put together that kind of performance against the Montreal Alouettes, they got a chance tomorrow. No question about it. For 4 quarters, of course, they have to put it together. But that 25 minutes to me had everything that you would have wanted, aside from obviously the red zone failures. I thought Tommy Condell, the game plan that he had dialed up was brilliant. The mix of run and pass was brilliant. The offensive line, I thought, had probably their best performance of the season in that first half. Actually, really throughout the entire game, they gave up 2 sacks in the end, but the second sack that they gave up really wasn't their fault. That was more on Zach Collaros in crunch time, in my opinion. Brady Oliveira was feasting. I thought they were playing complimentary football. The defense was taking the ball away. They were playing complimentary football. You'll remember the Evan Holm punch out that led to the Tim White touchdown, 30-yard touchdown on the play action, beautiful play action dialed up by Tommy Condell. So there was complimentary ball. This team was playing a brand of football that we saw that led to them, that fostered back-to-back Grey Cups, that fostered 5 straight trips to the Grey Cup. That was the first time this season we've seen that. So if I'm a Bomber fan, because there was questions all year leading up for the first 11 weeks of the season, there were questions about, can the Bombers, actually keep up with these top teams in the league? We saw it for the first time this year, in my opinion. We saw that they could not only keep up, but they could dominate at their best some of these other teams. Of course, again, there are reasons to be pessimistic as far as they couldn't keep it together for 4 quarters, all that stuff. But if I'm a Bomber fan, seeing that for the first time this year, that's what I'm hanging my hat on. If I'm the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I'm in that locker room. That's what I'm hanging my hat on, is that first 25 minutes and that's what I wrote about after the game I think I coined it, see it, believe it, because that was the first time we saw it. And so now there is a reason to actually believe that team is capable of doing something more than what we saw in the first 11 weeks of the season. That's where I stand on the Bombers right now. Of course, there's tons of reasons that things that they need to clean up. But I actually, for the first time this year, I think I am buying into when Mike O'Shea says we're close. this is the first time this year that I'm even remotely starting to buy into that.
On Monday we sort of got into this as far as what's missing from the Bombers, and Jeff and I talked about it on CFL 110. It's been talked about at the scrums with the coaches. The lack of any sort of consistent deep threat. And listen, I don't want to make this about Zach, because I do think that Zach brings a lot that the other quarterbacks don't. Yep. But it's hard to ignore the involvement of a guy like Ontario Wilson when Drew Brown has been in than when Zach is in. And I think anyone that's, being honest with themselves, that's watched this team over the last 7 years has seen, a bit of the pop on the deep ball from Zach not being there as to maybe what it was in 2019 or 21 when they were winning championships. What do you make of that part missing? And is it a matter of doing what they did in the first half very well, running the football, establishing consistent and reliable intermediate plays that then will give them a shot to take a few more because you have to keep them honest? Or is there something else that's missing right now? Or is it just not a connection or a confidence in the quarterback with the guy that's supposed to be their number one receiver and biggest deep threat?
Yeah, I think, okay, so there's a couple of things to that, because Zach Collaros will be the first to tell you, explosives win football games. I mean, that's just what the nature of this game is now, right? You have to generate explosives to win football games. I don't think Zach, as you mentioned, I don't think he has the shoulder, the arm, whatever it is to push it deep as consistently anymore and be as accurate, because as we've seen so many times, even when he does launch it deep, it is still underthrown. Or as we saw on down the left sideline, I think was that in the third quarter that he tried to attempt that deep ball to Pokey Wilson, and he let him out of bounds, and it wasn't even close to being a catch. It wasn't really a catchable ball for Pokey Wilson to come down with. He's either underthrowing or he's inaccurate, and so with that significantly hinders your ability, in my opinion, to not only pull away from teams, but also if you're going up against the Montreal Alouettes team, to keep up with the Montreal Alouettes. That's where I stand on the deep. Now, it's up to Tommy Condell. There might have to be I'm not saying that they can't win whatsoever, but it's now up to Tommy Condell to figure out what exactly is the recipe for to supplement that, because now you're talking about the offensive line needing to do their part as far as being able to carve out yards for Brady on the ground. And you're talking about maybe there needs to be more over routes, crossing routes to get these guys involved, because these deep shots on these go routes or these seams, whatever you want to call them, Zach Collaros is obviously not connecting on them. And so there just needs to be, I believe that hinders the Bombers' ability to win football games for sure, but I don't think it's impossible to win football games without it. I think that now they just need to go the rest. It needs to be what is probably going to be the game plan against the Montreal Alouettes, and what probably has been been the recipe for that team against that team all season, is shortening the game. It just needs to be the offensive line playing better, and they showed it last week that they could, shortening the clock, and from there and taking their chances when they can. But there hasn't been, to me, as Mike said, I think in his press conference earlier this week, talking about, sometimes they're just deeper than you are. Well, I mean, you need to give the defense a reason to respect the run game as well. And before, I think that the offensive line, if they can take steps toward opening up more lanes for Brady and establishing that run like we've seen the Bombers, then it does open it up, because we saw so many explosives from the Bombers before. But to me, it is a combination of the Zach Collaros' shoulder, yes, but it also needs to fall on Tommy Condell now and figuring out ways to supplement those explosiveness and find ways to still maintain drives. And oftentimes what we see is that needs to be, instead of these deep post type routes or deep corner type routes, it's maybe instead these over type of routes where you have guys running away. You have a Tim White running away from somebody, for example, and getting them, finding the pocket and allowing Zach to find the pocket. That's my thought. But yes, the lack of explosives is without a doubt hindering this team and its ability to put together four quarters and win football games.
One team that does not have those problems is the visitors tomorrow night. And I will tell you this defense of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers better be ready to play at their best, because if you're not ready to go defensively, that team will make you look pretty bad. And it's weird because the defense has looked excellent at times. They've had more pass rush than they've had in the last couple of years. And then at times they've looked sort of lost. And listen, it's one thing in the Canadian Football League to, get burned a little bit in the secondary. It's a passing league that happens. But, man, you better be able to take guys down when you got the opportunities to do it. And that was something. Sloppy tackling at times this year has been glaring for this squad. Just thoughts on the challenge for the Bomber defense to try to keep this team in the football game tomorrow and give themselves a chance to win in the second half.
Yeah, it's not only about limiting the explosives with a Tyson Philpott, for example. It is, like you mentioned, it is tackling, because as we saw in crunch time against the Elks, wow, that was they forgot how to tackle. That was really bad. I think it is about. I mean, it's tough to put together 4 quarters of clean football. It's almost impossible in a game, as Michael Chase likes to say, played by human beings. But at the same time, we do need to see a more complete performance from the team, a more consistent performance from the team through and through. I think, to me, as I mentioned off the top, it has to be. To me, it begins with the Bombers' offensive line, because if they can put together lengthy drives and obviously keep the Montreal Alouettes offense on the sidelines, and that is going to be probably the most cliche thing that you can say, and what all the analysts on TSN are going to say tomorrow is keeping Montreal Alouettes on the sideline. But to me, that has to be it, because if the Montreal Alouettes, if you want to get into a track meet with the Montreal Alouettes, I think Davis Alexander is licking his chops and saying, sure, we'll get into a track meet with you. I don't think that's the recipe for success for the Bombers. I think it is about stringing long drives together. That begins with the run game. That begins with the offensive line. And then on defense, if you can find a way to have Davis Alexander bait him into a mistake, or maybe even 2, that really gives you a chance. I do wonder, Huss, if on the defensive side of it, Jordan Younger is a guy who's obviously been under a lot of heat this year. I do wonder, he's a guy who likes to drop a lot of guys into coverage and obviously only rush 3 or 4. I do wonder if we see him get more aggressive as far as not allowing Davis to just sit back there and pick him apart. And because that's obviously what Jordan Younger wants to do is, let's force you into making a decision and finding a window to throw it into, and hopefully make the wrong decision and we pick the ball off. But Davis is playing so darn good right now. I just don't know how many times that's going to happen. And also the other thing that does, Davis is so darn good at extending plays and creating with his legs that only rushing 3 if he can find an escape lane, and then he really makes you pay, because your defenders in the secondary having to cover for 8 seconds or whatever it is. So in my mind, I do wonder if there is a logic, if there is a plan for Jordan Younger to rush more people and put more pressure on Davis Alexander, forcing him to get the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker, which would also, in theory, limit the amount of time he has to make an explosive play. So I just wonder if there is a plan from Jordan Younger to be a little bit more aggressive in this game. That's something I would keep an eye on. But on offense, man, it has to start with the run game for the Bombers. I have to imagine Tommy Condell is going to lean into the run as long as possible, milk that clock as long as possible, and keep Davis on the sideline.
Josh Frey-Sam with us here. Big one tomorrow for the Bombers. We'll have plenty tomorrow on the program. Hammer's going to join us, and we'll have the latest. But no real changes to the depth chart, with the exception Dietrich Nichols' game time decision. So we'll see whether he can go to tomorrow night. Obviously, a lot of the football conversations right now are surrounding our fantasy teams and everybody's drafts. We did ours last night with the media group. First off, now you're famous for being like the Cam Newton of our league, like with ridiculous fonts for your team name. What is your team name, and what language is that's in? How do we pronounce that, Josh?
Yeah, I was just throwing a little curveball at the boys. It's a little bit of mental. It's the mental game, Huss. I like to play that game sometimes. But what it is, it's Hindi scripture for baby back Gibbs is what it is. So I'm probably going to change it back to my usual crazy fonts of baby back Gibbs.
The Cam Newton font.
But yeah, the Cam Newton font. But I just wanted to throw a curveball, make the fellas think, and clearly it's working. So just a little early mental game there. That's all.
So you did take Gibbs first. Did you consider Josh Allen, or was this an easy pick? Boy,
did I ever. The only Is the only reason as well is like Josh Allen is can win leagues. He is a almost locked to be a top 3 quarterback. He has been. There's been nothing to show otherwise the last number of years. I did think about Josh Allen. I thought about him hard, but at the end of the day, man, Jahmyr Gibbs to me this season, and believe it or not, early on in the process, I was actually favoring Bijan Robinson over Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, not for this draft, but I mean like months ago when I started thinking more about fantasy football for this year. And that being because of the potential upside that I believe that Bijan Robinson actually has as a pass catcher, catching passes from Tua, who is a notorious check down king. But Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, man, and we all remember, I think anybody who has been watching football long enough remembers like a 2006, I think it was, LaDainian Tomlinson, and how he pretty much broke fantasy football. Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm not going to say he's going to have that kind of year, but I think that is like in the range of outcomes of his season, is just like because of the schedule, because of how involved he is. The coach speak is just outstanding from Dan Campbell and talking about like, we're just scratching the surface with Jahmyr Gibbs, baby. We're going to feed him. We are going to feed him a lot. I mean, that's what you want to hear, man. So yes, the decision was a little bit tough, but at the end of the day, man, it just had to be Gibbs. And I had chances to take quarterbacks I could have went quarterback at any point if I wanted to and got a good one. Could have gotten like a Dak Prescott, but I didn't. I didn't. I waited. So Jahmyr Gibbs was the pick, and I'm happy about that.
I mean, honestly, and again, this is a 2 QB or like a super flex league. You don't have to play 2 QBs, but QBs are so reliable for points more often than not. If you have 2 guys that are starting, you'll probably put him in. I mean, you ended up with Goff and Sammy Darts. I mean, picking them very, very late. And, we're able to get Gibbs and Jadarian Price and then a serious wrecking crew at wideout. We start 3. Pickens, who I think is going to be a monster this year in a contract year. A.J. Brown, who now, like, listen, I listen to Simmons, and I know that this is like me talking about the Chiefs. I mean, we're not very non-biased on this, but there is a lot of hype that A.J. Brown is going to a place. He was a fan of them growing up. He loves Vrabel, got a great quarterback in Drake May. And this is the one thing they were really been missing for a number of years, a true number 1 wide receiver. And now they've got it. You're obviously high on AJ as well.
Big time. Yeah, man. Because like you mentioned, this is what they were missing. Not only that, you look at Stephon Diggs, a guy who's coming off ACL last year and didn't play every single game. I mean, he still eclipsed 1,000 yards. AJ Brown is much better, much superior receiver than Stephon Diggs right now. And also, it's really what I'm chasing here is not only in between the 20s, it is the red zone. It is the touchdown upside that is potential for AJ Brown this year. And that's why I'm so high on AJ Brown. The Patriots were one of the highest teams last year as far as passing rate in the red zone, inside the 5, inside the 10, inside the 20. They were among the top teams in the league last year in passing rate. They want to sling the rock. They want to put the ball in Drake May's hands, and they want to let him sling it. AJ Brown is an absolute red zone monster, and so that is where the hype for me comes from. Garrett Wilson was another guy on my team, and that was a guy who I was hemming and hawing with because Luther Burden, as you guys might know, is my guy for this year. I'm very high on Luther Burden. But when I had Garrett Wilson sitting there in what I believe is going to be a much better situation for him this year, and a guy who is probably locked in if he stays healthy for 140 targets, maybe 150 targets, that is very difficult for me to pass on. And so even though it's Geno Smith and it's the Stinky Jets, I'm very high on Garrett Wilson, especially as a wide receiver 3 this year. But I'm happy, man. I'm happy with the draft overall. I can't be mad at it.
Listen, let's go. I cannot wait to get things going with the boys. And we're about, 12 days away or something like that for, I guess, 13 days away from the opener, Seahawks, Patriots. Then we get the Australia game, Niners, Rams. And, man, it's going to be a great, great week. I can't wait to talk more about this with you. Fill people in, Back Bacon Brief. If you want some great daily fantasy talk in your inbox, Josh is cooking it up for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I think the easiest place to go is just probably my Twitter account, my X account, and just at Frey-Sam on Twitter, and then go into the link in my bio, man. That's probably the easiest place to get it. Or you can go on, look on Beehive. You probably Google Back Bacon Brief Fantasy Football. I'm sure it'll come up somewhere in there. But yeah, man, I appreciate. Hey, before I go, do you have a prediction already locked in for what you got for whether it's conference championships or Super Bowl? You have anything?
I do actually. I mean, the AFC is so wide open. I'm picking the Chiefs at 15-1 is the Super Bowl number. I think they're 7-1. I'm fully realizing it could be a handful of teams. I mean, Baltimore's going to be really good, but you look at the odds and how kind of even that they are. I will go there, but I'm actually, and you're not going to like this as a Packer fan. I'm really high on the Bears this year. Bears at plus 350 to win the North is just a crazy number. Like, I don't see why they're so much less than Detroit and Green Bay. I think Caleb could possibly win the MVP with a big season. Like, I think he took such a big step last year and showed what he's able to do in the playoffs that he will be good to go. And I'm really high on them. And I just think that when you look at comparable teams, I'm not sure they're getting the respect that they are. So I've got a 25-1 future on the Bears. I've got a 15-1 future on the Chiefs. I've got Bears at 12 or 13 to win the NFC. Chiefs on the other side. And as I said, I've taken both of those teams right now, but we'll probably add a little bit more to it. I've been locked in the fantasy right now, but we went through that last year. And my favorite prop of the year is Jalen Waddle over 925.5. I think he could lead the league in targets this year. That's a crazy number, so you can jump on that as well. Josh, have a great one, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys.
Stuff. Josh Frey-Sam of the Winnipeg Free Press. All right. Remo, do we have a breaking news sounder still?
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, I do, actually. Let me pull it up. Holy. Everyone This is time. Now I will say this. While I was talking to Josh, I got a notification on my phone of an X thing, and usually that means I have some sort of like someone I follow has replied to me. So I went and just clicked on it. And it's nothing. It's Andy McNamara saying "Go Browns." Like, well, what's this? So this is interesting. So then I clicked on it, and it said Ray Petcow has tweeted for the first time in a while. And then when I pressed on it, it said, "Oops, nothing to see here yet." So I'm like, that's interesting. And then about a minute later, as I was finishing up with Josh, I saw the director's note on that we have a development on the Connor Hellebuyck situation. So, I mean, we should do breaking news, but if we don't have it, let's just get right into it. It sounds like... Well, here, I got it. 1 sec.
Oh, perfect.
We've got breaking news. We've got breaking news.
Sounds like we've heard from Connor Hellebuyck's agent, Ray Petcow. Michael Remis, fill us in on the details, would you please?
Yes, Ray Petcow posting for the first time in a while on X. Shout out to Ray. Official statement, Connor Hellebuyck. Winnipeg has been my home for my entire NHL career, and I will always be grateful for my time here. I have never forgotten June 23rd, 2012. That's the day Winnipeg took a chance on a goalie playing in Odessa, Texas. I gave everything I had from that moment to prove the Jets made the right decision. Several months ago, I privately requested a trade. I have tried to handle the situation quietly and respectfully while giving the organization time to explore its options. With training camp approaching, I felt it was important to publicly confirm my request. My position has not changed, and I believe moving on is the best path forward for me and my family. I appreciate everything Winnipeg Jets fans have meant to me throughout my career and hope a resolution can be reached soon. Connor Hellebuyck.
Oh, well, for anyone that was still holding out hope that maybe this was a bunch of bluster from in and around the draft and everything was just going to get settled, apparently not. I will say, I will give Hrabchak some credit. This is 100 times better than the Jacob Trouba trade request that talked about playing on the right side and whatever. And that, of course, ended with Trouba coming back to the Jets, signing a 2-year contract, and then getting traded the next year. But it is official right now, folks. There you have it. Connor Hellebuyck via Hrabchak, his agent, officially putting out that he wants out of the peg. I have many thoughts on this. We're going to get to that with Ken Wiebe coming in just a minute. Now, Wiebe was with us, and then I think probably ripped out to maybe fire up a few things on this. So, tell you what, I'm going to do a couple sponsor reads while Ken gets back in here, and obviously this is going to dominate the conversation for most of the program. While we wait, listen, Connor Hellebuyck wants out of Winnipeg. You know who's not getting out of Winnipeg? Princess Auto, founded and headquartered right here in the peg, and certainly not looking to move anywhere else because they just built the biggest damn store you've ever seen here in Winnipeg at 500 Panet Road with 105,000 square feet of literally everything to complete the projects on your list or start something new. You got to see it to believe it. Make sure you get into the shop, spend some time there with all the tools, take a walk around, come hungry. It is the most incredible shopping experience you've had, and it's all at Princess Auto. Proudly Winnipeg born. PrincessAuto.com for more information. And of course, we'll see you all at Princess Auto Stadium tomorrow night for Bombers and Red Blacks. Another great homegrown Manitoba company is Chudd's Power Sports up in Gimli, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years. The Derminator and the great experienced people at Chudd's have everything you need to have as much fun as you can when you're not at work. And that, of course, includes the best in new and used motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, snowmobiles, golf carts, outboard motors, boats, RVs, Argos, off-road vehicles, and more. Great deals right now as we wind down summer on both new and used vehicles, and incredible promotions right now as well as we get ready for snowmobile season. They've got the Polaris factory authorized clearance right now, and some great clearance sales events on off-road vehicles as well. Get on down to Chudd's. They're at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Make sure to say hi to the Derminator and all the WST peeps that are working there. And check out TrueNorthParts.com as well. I know you guys like great deals. There's a link on the website at ChuddsPowersports.com for the best in clearance gear and accessories. Got to thank my guy, Dr. Terry at St. Vital Dental Center. Normally going to the dentist is not a whole lot of fun. But I got to tell you, it is always a treat getting down to St. Vital Dental Center. Such a beautiful facility they've got at 167 St. Anne's Road. Convenient free parking right behind the building. State-of-the-art equipment. It is, it's pretty darn easy to go to the dentist as opposed to what it was growing up. They've got it all, and incredible service. A lot of smiling faces there. If you and your family need a great long-term home, St. Vital Dental Center has been handling generations of Manitobans, and they do it all, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. Dr. Terry has you covered. So check them out online, stviteldental.ca. To make an appointment and pop in and see him, and tell him the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And of course, we've got Blue Jays action tonight, NFL just around the corner, big week into CFL action, and the Jets just around the corner. Maybe without Connor Hellebuyck, but the season is upon us. Boston Pizza is your local sports bar where is the spot to gather with your friends for the big game. You'll be enjoying ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. With always great promos in and around Jet games and NFL primetime games as well. And staying at home tonight, you can always order online at bostonpizza.com. All right. Things have changed a little bit. I don't know whether Ken has to write an article right now, but let's get. Oh no, I think Kenny is going to come in. I know Connor's going to jump in a bit. He'll have some takes on this as well. But let's get right to it and welcome in Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press with the news hot off the presses, or as it were, hot off X, the Everything app, by Ray Petkow, Connor Hellebuyck's agent, confirming a trade request. Wiebe, great timing. We've been complaining about not much to talk about lately. That sure changed in the last 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, good to be with you, Huss. We thought the biggest news today would be reminiscing about you winning the DAF with your 18-footer on the 18th hole, and congratulations to you for that. But
thank you.
Yeah, I might have to hand the ball over to Connor a little quicker than normal here, but I'll give a couple quick takes. I did file a quick TJI, and I got to get a little bit more work on this. But yeah, I mean, obviously, this has kind of been percolating a little bit, I guess, if you will, Huss. But I think it kind of, let's just put it this way. This is clearly Connor Hellebuyck and his camp trying to put some heat on the Winnipeg Jets in terms of how the situation gets handled. We've been talking about it for months, that even though we suspected Hellebuyck had requested a trade, nothing had transpired over the course of the summer. And since things had gotten quiet, the expectation was going to be, and we've heard it, from Adam Lowry in his discussion with Murat Atesh at The Athletic, Jets players were expecting Connor Hellebuyck to be showing up for training camp, being the best version of himself. And obviously, in Connor's statement, it looks like he's trying to apply a little bit more heat on the Jets in order to try to get a deal done. I mean, that's my interpretation, Huss. I think you would feel the same. What that means in the big picture, remains to be seen. I mean, you understand that that's the player's viewpoint, and, good on him for expressing that viewpoint. But historically, we've sort of seen that lots of players have asked, and not as many people have made their requests public, I guess, if you will, Huss, outside of maybe the Jacob Trouba situation. But it doesn't necessarily, for those thinking that this means that Connor Hellebuyck will be traded tomorrow, I would caution that that's generally not the way that these things work. Now, I do think that, it probably puts a little more heat on the Jets in terms of maybe wanting to get a deal done. But what we've seen from Kevin Cheveldayoff in the course of 15 years at the helm is that, players asking and players getting moved isn't necessarily a straight line or done on the timetable of the player in question. So it'll be interesting to see if this heat means anything in terms of, expediting a potential deal. But for now, it's a player expressing frustration, and that player clearly has said publicly that he wants to be moved. So, I mean, that sort of takes away. I don't think we were guessing, Huss. I think we all kind of expected this was the way that it was kind of lining up to be. It was just a matter of when that trade would be happening. I don't know that this provides any more clarity on that, to be perfectly honest. I mean, unless you have a different interpretation than I do.
No. I mean, listen, I'm sort of with you. And I was going to say, okay, well, that's great. Now we officially know what I think everyone expected to be true. But does this change anything? And I mean, from my perspective, Ken, I said all along, this trade is going to get done when Kevin Cheveldayoff gets his asking price for Connor Hellebuyck. That hasn't happened yet. So I do wonder, just because it's official and everyone knows, and there's more people talking about it, and probably more people jumping on WST right now to hear us talking about it, the bottom line is the deal gets done when Kevin Cheveldayoff feels comfortable with the return that I don't think he has been at this point. I guess the other question is this a precursor to not showing up in a couple weeks when the rest of his teammates start to go to work?
Well, that's sure. I mean, we've heard some whispers and maybe potential rumblings on that front already, Huss. I mean, nothing public, obviously, and that hasn't been made public today. But I mean, if we're trying to follow the breadcrumbs and read between the lines, I think that would be the next step. Now, Connor's made a lot of money in his career, Huss, but I don't know that if that's a tactic that he and his camp are potentially thinking about exercising. I'm not sure that necessarily expedites the process either, and I'm not sure what that means for stock and or value, right? So you can understand the frustration on the player's part, and him saying that they, all of the kind of key words that you look for, express the desire to be moved privately, and those sorts of things. You understand. I mean, the Jets' way is to keep things out of the media as much as they can, and they've been mostly successful on that front for the bulk of their existence here in the 2.0 era. But it's not necessarily surprising that this has kind of reached its, if you want to call it a boiling point, you can. Now, what that means in terms of, do other teams sit there and think, oh, well, now we're going to apply the pressure to the Jets and, they'll have to take a lesser offer? That I don't see that being the case either, Huss. But at the same time, I mean, you don't want something like this kind of for a team that has a lot at stake and a lot riding in this season. I don't know that the whole idea of distractions and will this be a distraction? I mean, I think this would be a little bit different than, we've seen in this market what it's meant for guys like Nikolai Ehlers going into his last year of his deal unsigned. It didn't become a distraction because the Jets played great hockey. Now, if Hellebuyck shows up and plays great, it's not a distraction. But, I mean, when you have a guy who's arguably the most important player and has been the pillar of the franchise, openly expressing he wants to be elsewhere, I don't think that probably sits well with leadership, with coaching staff, with management, etc. So now you have to sort of balance and weigh the value of having an unhappy player versus what that's going to do to the dynamics in the room for a franchise that's trying to bounce back from a very disappointing season. But at the same time, they're not just going to give Connor Hellebuyck away and say, oh, well, we don't want the distraction here. Why don't you just take him off our hands for pennies on the dollar either? So I don't know that this expedites the process, as I said, and I don't know that this means that there's a deal necessarily to be done before training camp. But what we can tell you, Huss, is that you know that there's going to be a bunch of vultures kind of circling, and Kevin Cheveldayoff's phone's going to be ringing off the hook. Now, if you're one of those GMs calling, I think it probably would be wise to make a better offer rather than try to make a weaker offer if you actually want to get the player into your organization. But having said that, I mean, we know there's always a push and pull in negotiations to begin with. And I think it's pretty clear. I mean, there's no way Kevin Cheveldayoff makes it openly available that the franchise player he's taking calls on the franchise player in June. So if he didn't like what he heard in June, I assume that he hasn't liked what he's heard in July or August. Otherwise, given what Kevin Cheveldayoff has said publicly and Connor Hellebuyck has just said now in the form of a statement through his agent, I think both sides probably would like to get something done. But the fact that it hasn't been done to this point would, again, lead us both to believe that the offers haven't been there yet. So there's two ways this plays out. I mean, a team ups its offer and gets Hellebuyck, or Kevin Cheveldayoff is willing to continue playing the staring contest and waits to see if Connor Hellebuyck is showing up or what the next step from that camp is, right? I mean, that's sort of how I read the tea leaves, and I think you would agree.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm just looking at this statement again. I mean, the one thing that doesn't say is why he wants a trade. And, as a fan, I don't know if I really care, even at this point. It can be about winning. I think there's probably way more to do with the same thing that happened with Brady Tkachuk. I mean, some of the American players realizing that their earning potential, the way they're treated by some elements of the fan base is a hell of a lot better south of the border than it is north of the border and all that. But it really doesn't matter. This guy's the best Winnipeg Jet in the 2.0 era, and it's not close. And he has incredible value to the Jets, and if they're going to be trading him, they need to get the value. Now, what complicates it is that full no move. And the other thing that we don't hear this is how many teams are possible, whether that's changed at all, Ken.
Right.
And I'm not sure whether it would be very un-Jet-like to say, hey, we're sort of hamstrung right now with only a few teams to go. These are the teams. Maybe that comes out from an Elliot Friedman or something along the way. But as I say, it certainly is a headline grabber, but I don't know that the public nature of this request at the end of August does anything but pour gas on a bigger media fire around Hellebuyck and gives everyone with nothing to talk about in the hockey world something to talk about. But I don't know whether this really pushes him any closer to being dealt.
Yeah, no, I agreed, Huston. That's the thing. We're just sort of trying to see what it means for the offers. I mean, the Jets haven't been pressured to this point, and I don't, with all due respect, and you understand that the player and the agent want to have their voice heard and in their own manner where they can shape the narrative. I would imagine that Kevin Cheveldayoff was well aware of how they feel, and I don't know. I don't know the last time that a agent statement has led a team to say, okay, well, forget it. Now we're not going to we're going to lower the price and move the player. I mean, it could happen. Sure. It could happen tomorrow, but it just doesn't seem likely to happen for all of the reasons you just mentioned, Huss. I mean, the Jets know the value of Connor Hellebuyck, and we understand that teams that have been calling are saying on the flip side, oh, well, it's 5 more years at 8.5, and he's 33 years old, and he's coming off the worst year of his career. But those teams still want him because of the way he played for Team USA and because he's 1 year removed from a third Vezina and a Hart Trophy. So, the cat and mouse game will continue. And again, like I said, I just don't see a public statement leading directly to a trade in the next 5 minutes to 5 hours. I mean, that just hasn't been how the Jets operate to date.
Hey, I know you got to run, so I'll let you go after this. But with the public nature of this being out there, and this will be the headline on every NHL page, and I mean for the foreseeable future, do you think we hear anything from the Jets side now that this is public? I mean, is that something that Chevy will speak about, or will it more be done through back channels with some of the guys that he gives information to sort of get out?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a balancing act here too, right? I mean, the Jets' stance has been that they don't respond to rumors, but I mean, obviously when the agent releases this kind of statement, it's not a rumor anymore. But at the same time, I mean, Kevin Cheveldayoff didn't really, again, he was guarded in speaking about this subject before, but I don't think that he would feel the need to have to respond publicly because the Jets' position is already out there. Yes, teams have been making calls on the player. I mean, to me, again, I've said this from the very beginning, Huss. This is like the Laine situation where, in the summer it was leaked through insiders that, Laine hasn't asked for a trade, but he would be open to a change of scenery. Well, you're just changing the language and the verbiage, right? You're not changing what you want the outcome to be. But much like the Jets didn't make a move on, August 10th for Patrik Laine, I don't think they're going to be making one on August 27th for Connor Hellebuyck. But again, at the same time, it adds a layer that the Jets would have preferred to not have to deal with in the 2.5 weeks leading up to training camp. But at the same time, I think they were prepared for this to probably be released by the player or the agent or whatever way you want to look at it. But at the same time, I mean, this is also, Huss, we've also been talking about this since July 1st. It's not an accident that Stuart Skinner ended up signing with the Winnipeg Jets to a 2-year deal. I mean, this situation is probably going to be sorted out within that first year of the deal of Stuart Skinner, and then the Jets are going to probably find out if they're going to be able to lean on Stuart Skinner and try to sign him to an extension to be the replacement to Connor Hellebuyck. But again, all these things is sort of, maybe this hits fast forward to a degree, but I don't think the Jets are going to be rushed into anything because of a public statement. Again, I just, that hasn't been the way that it's worked for 15 years, and it's hard to imagine Kevin Cheveldayoff changing his stance just because this has been made public. Now, again, you understand why Connor Hellebuyck would do it. He's trying to apply pressure and put Cheveldayoff and the Jets' feet to the fire. And, now we're going to see, like I said, some people will be arguing, oh, well, it diminishes his trade value. Well, I guess, but I don't see it that way either. It doesn't.
You don't think every other GM knew that he wanted out?
Exactly. Like this is not breaking news here. So I'm just saying, for example, how it's like people are going to be calling and try to use that tactic. That's just not going to be. It's not going to work. I don't see as in that case. But anyways, it'll be fascinating. And sorry, to your other question, I think the same teams will make sense, Huss. I mean, I think the one team that intrigues me more than maybe at the time being would be a team like the Detroit Red Wings, who had something similar happen in their own market with Dylan Larkin. But I would think that based on his history with the player, both at the Olympics with the national team and with his summer skates, I think Dylan Larkin would feel a lot differently about the Detroit Red Wings and his future with them if Connor Hellebuyck was to sign up to be between the pipes there for the next 5 years, provided a deal could be made. But again, that is also complicated by the fact that Steve Yzerman is moving aside for a general manager who is yet to be unearthed, if you will. So if that's a possibility, who's making that trade? Is it directly with ownership, with the Ilitch family, or is it one of the assistant GMs, or is it Yzerman himself trying to make that deal? I mean, that's sort of what would complicate matters a little bit more. But I would be a little bit more intrigued about Detroit than maybe I was at the draft table, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, well, listen, I appreciate you jumping on. I know it's going to all of a sudden be a busy afternoon. You might have to cancel the second tea time of the day and get back and pull off your reporting for the Winnipeg Free Press. We'll look forward to reading it, Ken, and something tells me this isn't the last time we're going to be talking about this topic on WSD with you.
Yeah, no doubt. Great to be with you. And yeah, hard to believe that we weren't talking about Ridge Texada today, possibly, being in uniform and potentially stepping in as a backup DB if Dietrich Nichols can't go, even though he's a game time decision and wasn't street closed today. But as always, great to be with you. It's going to be a fun weekend as well. And we'll be pounding away at this computer for the next few hours, and have a great day and weekend when it arrives, guys.
You bet it. All right, there's Kenny.
Cheers.
We'll keep him longer next week. We got to let him go pay the bills with the latest reporting on Connor Hellebuyck. Of course, this is not where this conversation is going to end. Remis and Connor will join us. The boys will come in right now, and we'll have it a little bit more. I'm just looking at the chat, which obviously is popping like crazy. Awesome. Helly's on the cover of every sports page now. Tim Bro, oh, you want to trade? Then waive your no move. Great idea. Let's see here. Hearts Nostalgia Pit. To me, Helly is worth a king's ransom. Boring Sean Monahan. Can we get Chuck Hellebuyck back on the show for more clarity? And T. Will, this is back and forth with Raiders, but if other teams were going to make a bid, they would have already. Nothing was stopping them before. Why would more teams make an offer now? Everyone already knew he wanted out. This is kind of my point. Like, okay, it's public, and maybe this is just preparing. It seemed like it was a more PR move for Winnipeg Jet fans who are going to find out that this is 100% real. And it's going to happen at some point, and, trying to still maintain, an element of good relationship with the people here in Winnipeg. Interested to know how that goes over with all of you. Let us know about that in the chat as well. But let's bring in Connor right now, and Remo if he wants, unless he's firing. He's probably firing out a bunch of things on the social channels. Connor, where's your head at? I mean, I'll ask you what I asked Ken. I mean, do you think that this really changes anything other than maybe just lights a fire on social media and on shows like this for people to come and talk about now that there is absolutely no question whether the guy wanted out?
I think it does change things because like at least a little bit, right? I mean, the statement does say that he privately requested a trade months ago, which had been widely reported. Some people still didn't believe it, but hey, here we are. He requested
Everyone
a trade,
knew.
and now it's public. Well, no, not everyone.
Buffalo, everyone knows that there is
There were still a good chunk of people in denial that he had actually requested a trade, and I can confirm that. But yes, he's now requested a trade, and I think it does change things a little bit because you were asking Mike and Murat throughout this week on the show, if Connor Hellebuyck is still a Jet in the middle of September, is he at camp? Now I think it's he's not going to be there. He wants out. It's public now. Everyone knows it. I agree with both you and Ken that I don't think this really changes his value. The Jets have been calling teams about Connor Hellebuyck for months now, presumably. So teams know that he's available, and teams know that he has requested a trade in private months ago. And if the deal comes across the table, I still think we're in the same pattern. So maybe that's the place where it hasn't changed, is that the Jets are still feeling like they need to get the proper value to move off of Connor Hellebuyck. But I do think it ramps up the pressure a little bit to move him, because now he's publicly outed that he doesn't want back. Training camp's going to be starting in a couple of weeks, and do we really want the narrative to be like, oh, Connor Hellebuyck's not here and we're all just waiting for him to get traded? I think the Jets might want to get ahead of camp and move him before that happens.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with that at all, but I also don't think that Cheveldayoff's all of a sudden willing to take way less for Connor Hellebuyck.
I agree.
Because this is out there. T. Conopoli, Helly ain't coming to camp. Thanks for the super chat. And T. Will says, this makes whatever deal Chevy was going to get worse. They wanted Helly to stay quiet for a reason. I don't agree that, I mean, listen, that's up to the GM. Like, they knew that they had this issue all along. Like, this isn't news to Kevin Cheveldayoff. And I'm going to tell you right now, it sure as hell isn't news to any of the other 31 NHL GMs. So I don't necessarily agree that it makes it worse unless the Jets get to the point that they say, this is more trouble than it's worth. To me, and Connor, I mean, I don't know if you feel differently, this player is too good, too accomplished, too important to the franchise, and has too good of a contract to just say, you know what, this is going to be a real pain in the ass. Let's just trade him for whatever we can get. Like, the fact he has 5 years left on his deal, this is not a gun to the head of Kevin Cheveldayoff.
I also would argue, though, that he's too good, too accomplished, with too good of a contract to have him just sit out until December while your team slips lower and lower in the standings without your star goalie. Like, you still have Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey. If you're trying to compete this year, you either need to have Connor Hellebuyck in your lineup, which now we know isn't happening, or you need to trade Connor Hellebuyck to get players to put into your lineup so that you can try and make the playoffs this year. Because if you just remove Connor Hellebuyck from the Winnipeg Jets, they're not a playoff team this year. Like, you need to add more pieces given this package coming back to improve the roster, to help Stuart Skinner, to help that defense core, to help the secondary scoring that we've talked about. So I agree with you that, like, this doesn't necessarily mean Kevin Cheveldayoff's just going to say, okay, this is now public. Let me look at my offers that I have right now. What's the best offer? Boom, I'll take it. But also at the same time, you have a lot of players like Mark Scheifele, who's getting into his mid-30s as well, who's probably, like, what's Mark Scheifele thinking right now? He signed matching contracts with Connor Hellebuyck, and he's like, oh, he wants out. Why? Because he doesn't believe in the future? Does it make Mark Scheifele second guess things? Like, I think you have to move Connor Hellebuyck prior to the season so that you can hopefully retool and reload this lineup to prove to the guys that are on the wrong side of 30 on the roster right now that, hey, we still want to win. We heard from Kevin Cheveldayoff at development camp, and he was asked a question about Connor Hellebuyck, and if you move him, does it lead you more to a rebuild or a retool? And he said the plan is still to win. Well, if you're proving to Scheifele, Connor, Morrissey that the plan is still to win, having Connor Hellebuyck just sit on the shelf for 3 months while you're like 7th in the Central isn't doing anyone any favors. So I do think it kind of ratchets up the pressure to take a deal at some point so that this team has a chance this year.
You know what? From an organizational standpoint, and I'll go right up to the top. I mean, I know it's important to have good messaging and to have your players on side. But then there's the fans and the fan base. And I'll ask you this as a Jet fan. How would you feel if Cheveldayoff just said, well, you know what, now this is public, let's just rid ourselves of the problem and go and made a trade that everyone thinks is nowhere close to what the Jets should get for Connor Hellebuyck? Are you in on that? No, I am not at all.
I just don't think Connor Hellebuyck is good enough that I don't think that there's like bad packages out there for him. Like, I don't know. Like, I think you should be able to drum up enough value for a guy who won the Hart Trophy 2 seasons ago and get, a decent package back for that. So I don't know. I agree with you that like an underwhelming package would make this situation an absolute nightmare given what's already happened here. Like 2 weeks from now, if the package is like, yikes, then well, that's a whole nother conversation. But I do think it kind of puts a little bit of a deadline on it because you don't want this lingering deep into the season, Huss, because you have players on contracts right now that you hope can put you in the playoffs this year. Mark Scheifele had 100 points last year. Like, you want to give that guy some second line help coming into this season. So I do think it adds a little bit of pressure, but I do agree with your ultimate point that like I don't think Cheveldayoff, if by October, well, I guess the season starts October 2nd. If by September 20th he doesn't have a deal, then he's just like, well, I'm just going to take a crappy deal just because. But I do think it adds a little bit of pressure on that front.
Yeah, Remo, maybe if you can get Evander Kane on the line or get Trouba on the line, and let's see how this worked out for them. Trying to, force Cheveldayoff into doing so. I'm just wondering, maybe those guys could speak to it. Pretty sure we've seen this sort of thing happen before, and I would argue that he's far better, far more important, which makes the likeliness of them taking 3/4 for a loony a hell of a lot less than before. I see T. Kona's back in the chat. Jets don't want this getting ugly. It'll ruin the reputation of loyalty and drawing players and such. They need a nice separation. Listen, if we're talking about loyalty, this isn't loyalty of the Winnipeg Jets. They were the ones that gave him the 8-year contract. I mean, the loyalty question is on number 37. And you all know that I'm a huge Connor Hellebuyck guy. He has been the guy during the 2.0 era, is more accomplished than any player in Winnipeg Jets history and all of that. And listen, players do want changes of scenery. They do want to go elsewhere, but at the same point, he and Ray Petkow have to understand that Chevy works for Mark Chipman and the Winnipeg Jets, and they need to do right by their hockey club. And sorry, you wanted a trade? We actually said, okay, we'll consider that and talk to other teams. We're not getting what we need for you. So up until that point happens, you're a Jet, and you can deal with it as you want. If he wants to sit on his ass and not get paid, that is his prerogative to do so. But I still don't think that this is going to be something that pushes Chevy into taking a lesser deal for the best player in Jets history just because Ray Petkow remembered the password to his Twitter account and threw out something publicly this afternoon. Keep the comments coming. The chat is hot this afternoon. All right, let's I'm gonna go back and Remo, maybe if you want to grab some of the just like mark some of the top comments and whatnot. We do have we're gonna check in with Andrew Collier for a minute. Maybe he's got some information on the Hellebuyck deal. But hey, you know what? There's probably a lot of you with 37 jerseys that maybe you're thinking about getting a new one right now. Head to Royal Sports. There's your Jets HQ. You can get a Vigo Bjork. You won't have to worry about any of this with a 61 jersey for the upcoming year. But of course, it is hockey season. Everyone's getting back on the ice, skates, tryouts. You got to be ready to drop the puck on the season, and you can be fully ready with one trip to Royal Sports, Winnipeg's hockey superstore for over 50 years with the best selection, pricing, and experts to get you the right item that you need when it comes to sticks, skates, full equipment, goalie gear, and of course the best in fan gear as well for the NHL, Winnipeg Jets, Bombers, NFL. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. And check them out on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg. Do want to thank our friends at Travel Manitoba for their support of WST. If you are planning your next adventure, still some time to get out while the weather's nice. Start with Travel Manitoba, whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events. Everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, head on down to the Forks and stop by the Travel Manitoba Visitor Information Center. We're going to talk Goldeyes in just a minute as they have their big final homestand, which continues tonight against KC. Assiniboine Downs will be back next Tuesday and Wednesday. And ASD is going right through September into Thanksgiving. So still plenty of opportunities to get out to the track with live racing Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. post time, free admission, free parking. Do the Downs. All right, let's bring in Andrew Collier for a moment. Andrew, for a moment, if I could, take off your Goldeyes hat. You don't literally need to do that, but figuratively. I mean, you're a Winnipegger. You're a hockey fan. You're a big Jets guy. What was your initial reaction knowing that, this smoke has been going on. God knows we've been talking about it for a while. But the fact that this trade request is now public. Does that change anything for you as a Jet fan, thinking about the situation the team is in right now with their all-star goaltender?
I think it just makes it official what everybody pretty much knew going back to before July 1st. Just makes it official. Whether or not it forces Chevy's hand, I don't think so. But unlike a lot of politicians we know, I'm just going to stay in my own lane here and not comment too much.
Well, hey, listen, you're a Winnipeg guy. Feel free to tear the paint off the walls if you'd like. Listen, this is obviously a topic that is dominating the chat right now. And we'll get to your comments as we go there. Jay Miller, there goes our franchise's GOAT. That is, that is true. Little smoother sailing for the ball team these days down there. I was there on Tuesday. What a night that was, hey? I mean, a gutsy comeback extra inning win to get Monday night's W. Tough one that didn't go their way late, but then a big bounce back in a huge series against Kansas City, knowing that they've got another series in KC next week, and first place is still very much on the table.
Yeah, 3.5 back at KC right now. Last night was a huge win. The Bats came alive. Bullpen did their job. It's going to be a fun race to the finish. Magic number 7. We got 12 games to go. Any combination of Sioux City losses are wins, and the total 7, and we're in. And if we do get in, we know one of two things. We'll be at home on September 9th, or we'll be home on September 11th. And that could, who knows, that could come down to the last day. But if people are planning ahead, the 9th and 11th is when we could be home.
Yeah, just fill people in, because the league, like the format of the league, top 4 in the division make it. It's 1, 4, 2, 3. Is that right, or is it the choice?
Yeah, so they changed it a few years ago. Whoever finishes first in each division has the choice, but they can't choose the second place team. So they have the choice of the third or fourth place team. So if one chooses 4, then 2 plays 3. So our goal, obviously, is to finish first, but really finish first or second so we get that home field advantage in the first round, so we could play on the road on the Wednesday, the 9th, and then come home for the Friday and Saturday if necessary.
Best of 3 for the first round?
Best of 3 first round, then a 5, and then a 5.
Excellent. So as of right now, if the Goldeyes finish second, that game will be September 11th.
Correct.
Excellent. And then a potential game 3 would be the 12th. And then obviously the next week would be the following, which is actually perfect for me because I'll be back in the city at that point. I was sort of worried. I was at the game going, man, I got lots going on this week. I'm leaving town. Is this it for me? But that will not be the case because I have a lot of confidence. Now, a big part of making sure you're second is doing the job right now and finishing it off at home. Great start to the homestand against the first place team, up 2-1. Set the stage for tonight and the rest of the weekend for the remaining home games on the regular season schedule before we start talking about playoff baseball.
Yeah, unlike the Blue Jays with the remaining part of their schedule playing against all teams under 500, we're finishing off tonight 4 against KC, leading our division. Tomorrow we play Lake Country, who for a large part of the season was leading the East Division. Then we go to Fargo, and then we finish with KC. So the schedule is certainly not favorable to us, but as we've shown the last couple nights, we can hang with KC and hopefully take 3 out of 4 tonight.
What's up for the weekend? A couple season-ending promos. I know the fireworks. You got to love the fireworks in late August because it's actually darker than it is in the middle of summer. Certainly adds more to the fireworks show. But Friday through Sunday, I know it's always a great final weekend of regular season ball for fans.
Yeah, these last 4 are going to be awesome. Tonight, Thursday night, 6:30 start. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock start. Fireworks after the game. Saturday, player card giveaway and our final push for our shoe donations. We take shoe donations all season long. Corks Shoes is big sponsor of that. Shout out to them. They're the game sponsor Saturday night. So if anybody's coming to the game on Saturday, you have some new or gently used shoes that are just sitting in the closet, bring them to the game. Free bag of popcorn for everybody who brings in a pair of shoes on Saturday. And then Sunday's our fan appreciation game, team photo giveaway, on-field autographs before the game. And then Monday's a day off. And then we head down to Fargo to finish it out.
Well, listen, good luck to Logan and the squad. The team's been playing great. I mean, 13 wins in a row to get right there and continuing this great series with Kansas City tonight and the rest of the weekend before heading on the road. Cannot wait for the playoffs, but good luck to the fellas finishing off this homestand and then a big week away to find out where they finish heading into the American Association playoffs. Goldeyes.com/tickets. Get them in your phone. The lines have been big. The crowds have been amazing. So get them in your phone. Get out there. Come thirsty. Come hungry. And have a great time out at the ballpark this weekend to finish off the regular season. Cash, good luck to the squad. Have a great one. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. There's Andrew Collier of the Winnipeg Goldeyes. We're going to get back to this in a minute. We're... Yes, the chat is popping, as I would imagine. Just before we bring Remo back in, heading out to Aikens in a couple weeks. Cannot wait to see what September fishing like is at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. But they are booking well into 2027 right now. So if you were thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing trip where you can be on the water in about 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, including the flight, Aikens Lake is the spot. And as great as the world-class fishing is, the hospitality, I think, might even top it. And that is what the Aikens experience is all about. Check them out online, aikenslake.com or at Aikens Lake on all the social channels. And get in touch and plan that trip of a lifetime for next summer out to Aikens Lake. Quick look at what's happening at the Tour Championship. Look at this. Minwoo Lee, an 8 under 62. To grab the lead, 2 shots ahead of Victor Hovland. 4 under is the number for Ryan Fox, Adam Scott, Ryan Gerard, and then a bunch at 3, including Tommy Fleetwood, Colin Morikawa, Sam Burns, and Chris Gotterup. Looking for Mr. Scheffler. He is 2 under through 7 right now. Only 30 players in. It's actually 29 now, because J.J. Spawn had to WD. All happening out at East Lake in Atlanta. We'll stay on top of the Tour Championship for the next couple days. Of course, all of our golf reports brought to you by Breezy Bend. If you were thinking about making one of Winnipeg's top private courses your home next year for you and your family, get in touch now, breezybend.ca for membership information on 2027, or give the clubhouse a call and ask for our pal, Corey Johnson. We'll get back to more feedback on the official Hellebuyck trade request, but first, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we are back. Now, Remo, we've got lots of super chats. I'm sure there's plenty going on Twitter, which will go. Here's one from T. Will. If going public really has no effect on Helly's trade value, then explain to me why Helly didn't just come out and say this publicly 2 months ago in a way that makes sense. I mean, well, I'll ask you this, flip it around. If it hampers his trade value, then why would you do it? Because I think if his trade value is hampered, that probably makes Kevin Cheveldayoff less likely to trade him. So I don't know. I'm not there with you on that one. I mean, the trade value is there's 2 people that really are involved. Whoever is trading for the player and the guy that has the player. And as I say, like Cheveldayoff's situation and his ask and what he needs to get back for the player, to me, doesn't change with this. He's known this all along. And as I've said, when this happened earlier today, so is the 31 other general managers. I mean, is there more talk and chats on Winnipeg Sports Talk? Yeah. Is Twitter blowing up? For sure. But I mean, it's not really anything that people didn't know. So I don't know. I mean, I understand why maybe some people would feel different, but I'll ask you this, T-Will. Do you really think that Chevy now is more likely to take a lesser offer, as I said, because Ray Petkow got his Twitter account going? I mean, I don't think so. Remo, I mean, where are you at on this? I know you've been busy with social stuff and kind of handling everything as it comes in. I mean, are you with T-Will? I mean, his trade value goes down significantly, or do you think that this might make it even more difficult to make a trade?
I don't know if it changes a ton. I think this was kind of an open secret that was out there. I think it does apply more pressure from the fan base, and you do wonder now if Connor Hellebuyck shows up to training camp, which I think is likely, as Mike McIntyre mentioned yesterday. He did some digging, and the last player to hold out and not show up while under contract was Alexei Yashin, which is a long time ago. So I think the Jets haven't buckled to this kind of pressure in the past. It was 10 years ago next month that Kurt Overhart put out the statement to Sportsnet that Jacob Trouba had requested a trade, dreaming to become the top pair right side D that he had dreamt of becoming as a boy growing up. So this trade
was, as I say, Ray and Connor did a much better job with their public trade request than the Trouba one. The Trouba one was comedy.
I said put this graphic in the Jets trade request Hall of Fame. The Ray Petkow, like this letterhead, official statement, Connor Hellebuyck. This is a well-done trade request. Kurt Overhart just fed a statement to Elliot Friedman, and just looking back at this trade request, the situation is not about money. It is solely about our client having the opportunity to realize his potential as a right shot NHL defenseman. I don't think this, to look at it, I don't think this changes a ton. I think the Jets are on their own timeline, but I do think it'll ramp up the pressure, and maybe there'll be some more negative reaction towards Hellebuyck. I see people in chat. I know Issue Boy Bruce has got a Heritage jersey he wants to dump off, and maybe I'll see some good deals out there on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, well, you probably will. There'll be some Remis approved deals for people that still want a piece of Connor Hellebuyck's incredible run as a Winnipeg Jet. Just on the trade requests, I was saying that, the Connor that put out was much better. However, I will give Kurt Overhart credit for at least in the trade request putting a reason that he wanted to be dealt. It may have been bullshit, but at the same point, they at least said why. Like, there's nothing, and that's the thing about this bit. He just said, hey, we privately requested a trade earlier. Now we're just putting it out there. But there's no reason of why he wants out. There is no mention of where he would like to go to. There's no mention of a no move that certainly, ties one hand behind the back of the other general manager. So, I mean, all this is just letting everyone know what we already knew from where I'm concerned, as far as I'm concerned. Let us know what is Week saying right now? And did he put a hashtag HockeyX on it? Okay,
Mikey McBikeface says he sold his Hellebuyck memorabilia at his garage sale this summer, saying he's still a Jet. And I haven't looked at the prices of his Young Guns card locally, but I would probably still scoop one up if everyone wants to get rid of one on a deal. Me too. A lot of people taking victory laps on X. Dave McCarthy, who we had on here, and the comments on the Dave McCarthy segment that you had with him, like, who is this guy? He's a nobody, blah, blah, blah. And he put in April 17 as it relates to Connor Hellebuyck. I was told recently it wouldn't be surprising if he plays elsewhere next season. A number of factors at play, including his discontent with how the season went for the Jets. And who was it? Turd Ferguson in chat said Helly told you why he wanted to trade in his end of season presser. Maybe we can revisit some of that. But Kevin Weeks taking a victory lap on X, and should he be? So
No.
He put out June 30 this picture of Connor Hellebuyck, an eyes emoji. And this was right after he tweeted out the goalie trade. Was it the Blackwood? Or no, not Blackwood.
Markstrom.
The Markstrom trade. He tweeted the Markstrom trade, and then right after, put this out there. A picture of Hellebuyck and an eyes emoji. What is that? Is that a report? Is that anything? Does this tell anyone any information? And it just stirred up a lot of hysteria. People had to miss our Goldeyes night out because they were on duty due to a potential trade. And then Kevin Weeks, who hasn't tweeted since the beginning of July, responding to Nick Lynham, put this out. Look at this. Puts out Kermit drinking tea like he's taking some kind of victory lap. He never reported anything. So if Kevin Weeks said Hellebuyck has officially requested a trade, I have that information. That's a report. A picture with an eyes emoji, that's not a report. You don't get to take a victory lap for a non-report. Sorry, Kevin.
I back you 100% on this. Although, I mean, it did give us, as much as, it certainly got things going that night when we were doing our game at the ballpark and had to miss a couple of people that all of a sudden got thrown into work because of basically an internet troll job. I will say it did give us one of the great interactions in Jets X, Hockey X history. And of course, we'll always have quotation marks Nick as a nickname for Nick Lynham the rest of the way because of their back and forth. So McCarthy, I will give Dave credit. He was right. And let me just say again for the record, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, he was very disappointed with the way the season went last year. Yeah, well, no kidding. You think there was a single player on that team that was fired up that they missed the playoffs? No. But maybe this is just me. I don't know. I think there's a bit of a lack of self-awareness from 37, and I've been his biggest backer all along. What did he have, an 895 last year? Was he NHL average last year? Maybe. Now you can say that's how important he's been to the team for a long time, but guess what? That's how you earn big 8-year contracts. That's how you do all that, by playing really well. He did all of that. He'd been an incredible Jet, but he had his worst season last year, as did the team. And I don't know. I mean, there is if we're just pointing fingers at everyone else except yourself, I don't know what that says about the guy.
Here, well, I do see a lot of comments too that say, "Get him out of here, trade him. He stinks in the playoffs." And you look at his numbers the last couple of years in the Avalanche series or the Vegas series. Last 3 years in the playoffs, 866 save percentage, 864, 886. This is a guy who performed well below his career numbers in the playoffs, and didn't really take a ton of accountability there. You would come out and say, "Oh, I like my game," or blame the guys in front of him. Every other goalie seemed to figure out a way to get the job done and stop pucks. And I've been a defender saying he's certainly capable of playing well in the playoffs. We saw it in 2018. We saw it in home games during the previous playoffs, and we saw it in the gold medal game. How about this question, Huss? If Devon Toews scores that goal from in the crease in the gold medal game, does Connor Hellebuyck request this trade?
Listen, I've said it many times. If Nathan McKinnon can hit, a net that he hits 9 out of 10 times, are we having this question? Put it this way. I'm not taking away from the fact that he was frustrated and he said he wants to win a cup. He's won everything else and where the team is. I won't diminish that because I do think there is part of that. But I think it's way more the Canada-US thing. I think he came back and his family was dealing with a bunch of BS from from some idiots, in my opinion. I mean, going after people's families or, getting into Andrea Hellebuyck's Instagram because you're a guy that, you're someone that, hates Trump because he, had this incredible performance and won and then was gassed up as the Presidential Medal of Freedom winner. I mean, that was gross. And I didn't think there was a place for that. Some people think that that's appropriate. I think that they've got some screws loose. But don't think for a second that coming back here, dealing with that, having the Jets, and I mean, listen, I understand why the Jets were very, very kind of not overplaying the incredible performance of Connor Hellebuyck winning the gold medal for the United States. None of us want to talk about that damn game ever again. We don't want to be reminded of it. We will see you in 4 years at the next Olympic Games, and that will hopefully be a motivating factor. But a massive victory lap for a gold medal and incredible performance was not really something that any Canadian team wanted to do because of the way that game went down. And then, we've heard all the stories about how close the guys were together. I mean, listen, they deserved it. They had an incredible time. They looked like they were a fun group of guys, and they went in and he stole a gold medal for the United States, and all of his teammates are getting to bask in the glory of it, and there's been a lot of it. They're getting incredible love that hockey players don't normally get, and Helly's at the front of that spot. So when they are getting gassed up everywhere they go in the United States, and then the guys in the Canadian markets are getting probably ribbed by the Tkachuks and everybody else for what they're dealing with, yeah, I think he kind of wanted to probably get to the United States. And I mean, obviously, just from a dollars and cents, I mean, if I'm his agent, and Ray Peck lives in Steinbach, as far as I know. I mean, it's not like he's some big American guy, If I'm his agent, where is the Presidential Medal of Freedom Olympic gold medal winning goaltender more marketable? Winnipeg, Manitoba, or literally any U.S. market? I think you know the answer to that. So, I mean, believe what you want. I think there's a lot of reasons that we've kind of come to this 3-4 months ago. And the fact that it's just official today certainly gives us lots to talk about, Remo. But as I think, I'm not sure that this changes a whole lot for Kevin Cheveldayoff. He has a price. He's looking to get it met. Right now it hasn't been, and that's why Connor Hellebuyck's a Winnipeg Jet and why Ray Petkow is operating his X account once again.
Some great comments coming in the chat right now. Tico and Apolli looking on the bright side, Huss. At least now the Jets have a starter who's been to the Cup final twice in Stuart Skinner. And Pat Gregoire saying Nathan McKinnon missing a wide-open net will be one of the biggest butterfly effects of our generation. It's who we should be booing, Nathan McKinnon and Devon Taves. They screwed the Jets franchise. They screwed them out of Connor Hellebuyck. And NHL Chunky writing, Connor Hellebuyck doesn't believe in this team or this organization, and frankly, I don't blame him. So those are some of the comments coming in now. And yeah, we saw Connor Hellebuyck, do the tour at NASCAR, saying start your engines. He's on Family Feud, wearing the Team USA jersey, doing Fast Money.
Yeah, speaking of victory laps, he earned one and definitely made the most of it.
Yeah, see, so, I mean, good for him. You got to take advantage. He did start. I wonder if this is why he started the X account at Hellebuyck Official on Instagram. I don't know if he's put anything about the trade request in. No, just a picture of him and Steve Harvey together. So I'm kind of curious, what's next? Is he going to show up to camp? Are we going to hear from him, or will he even take questions? But we did have this today, and I'll be fair, we have been starving for some content this week. Our numbers have been really, really down.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. We've been doing whatever the hell you've been doing for the last few weeks. We'll be here again tomorrow. We expect attendance from you with us live on YouTube. Thank you very much. There's, a bunch of funny. If Helly plays game 1, probably some booze for him. That's from Bridget. Krugs has nothing to do with how the Jets did. He wants to play in his country. Jude, $8.95. I liked my game, which is beautiful. Helly can enjoy his fishing on Lake America.
Yeah, there's a lot of those today.
Oh, man. Let's see here. Let's see. He just signed for 7 years? Yeah, you can blame him. It was actually 8 years. Here we go. LMAO. It's now on. It's all on Helly. Who stunk more, Helly or the team in front of him in the playoffs? Reggie Dunlop, my coworker, said he'd already sold his house. And Eagle Eyes says Helly's value will never be higher. The trade will happen, and we'll all cheer when he returns to Canada Life Center. No bad blood. I would argue that his trade value would have been higher the year before than the season that he had last year, both he and the team. But again, the thought of trading Connor Hellebuyck after the previous season would have been an absolute non-starter to anybody in with the information. But, I mean, this all goes back, Remis. When was the Jaron Drager report? Where, after a bunch of this stuff was coming out, I guess this was somewhat in June, where Drager, who normally in this case would have just shut down. The Winnipeg Jets are not trading Connor Hellebuyck. They're not interested in that. That's not something that they would consider doing. He basically said as much, and we know that this comes directly from the team, that, if somebody doesn't want to be here, well, then we'll kind of, not as much, we don't want you here if you don't want to be here, but in as many words saying, we'll try and find a way, something that works, because we want people that are here and committed to this hockey club and to this city. And listen, he has been for his entire career beforehand, and I do think that, years down the road to, who was it? Was it Eagle Eyes' spot? That to mention that there will be, I think he'll be celebrated in this city at some point, but it's going to be a while. And I'll tell you what, I honestly also think that how Hellebuyck is viewed long-term in this city will have a lot to do with what the trade is for Connor Hellebuyck. And if there is a perception that he sewered this or held the team hostage with a short... Now, I'm not saying that this has happened, because the fact of the matter is it sounded like he was about to accept a trade to Buffalo, but that he's prevented the Jets from getting value, the proper value for Connor Hellebuyck, and the trade is disappointing for fans as far as what the return is, then I think some people may hold more hard feelings because of the after effect of it when he gets to be on his way to wherever he goes. But needless to say, this is just starting up. Now, I don't know if Pat is still in the chat, but I would love to know, and if this is not already up at Coolbet, I bet it will be by tomorrow. Odds on where will Connor Hellebuyck's next team be in, and let's just see here. I'm going to click on hockey. I'm going to click on futures, NHL specials. There's a McDavid. Trade bet by over the course of the next year, but right now no Helly number. But mark my words, the boys will get something up tomorrow under the NHL specials, and it will be Connor Hellebuyck's next team. And I don't know, Rhea, we haven't talked a lot about, Buffalo obviously was a team that had the most smoke in and around the draft. We'd heard Carolina. Funny thing is, the team that probably makes the most sense, like if he's genuine with, I want to play for a contender, I want to have a chance to win the cup, let's face it, the most logical team is the Edmonton Oilers. And the Oilers, I don't know if we really touched on this yesterday. They have some big injury problems, and camp hasn't even started yet. They've already announced that Janmark, Matt Savoy, and Freddie Anderson will miss all of training camp. Not going to be there for day one. they're not going to be there for training camp. And listen, Anderson's been a big question mark for a long time health-wise. Had a great season for the most part last year and obviously won the Stanley Cup, although he wasn't in the net for the final 3 games. It was Brandon Bussey. But again, I don't think that Hellebuyck is maybe his thought to win the Cup. You're going to roll in there with Draisaitl and with McDavid. Okay, fine. I'll hold my nose and play in Canada. But I would be stunned if it wasn't an American team. But there certainly is no team that could use Hellebuyck more. That probably makes sense more than the Edmonton Oilers. Not sure what they'd have to give the Jets because they have traded a number of their assets over the last number of years. But finding that sweet spot of the return and the team that makes sense for the player with the no move is not easy. If it was, it'd already be done.
Yeah, reports coming in about, the place. Scott Billick is on X, the Everything app. What was his thing? He said, Hellebuyck, from what I've heard, was open and willing to work with a number of teams to facilitate a move. He may have a no-movement clause, but gave Winnipeg options, maybe compared to a guy like Dylan Larkin, whose options were Florida or Vegas.
Billick's exactly right. I mean, I think the second we heard that he had approved a trade to Buffalo, I think we knew what it is. And listen, for all the people that said it's just all about winning, I know Buffalo had a great 4 months last year. They made the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. That has been probably the worst organization in the National Hockey League for the last 15 seasons. So the minute I heard that, obviously he wants out, and he is more than willing on taking a chance on a team that is not a guaranteed Stanley Cup contender. And that's why, to me, this all goes back to more about the USA-Canada stuff than anything that, he said in his bid at the end of the season. He also said he was going to look and see, let's see, how things go. We need to make some improvements. We need to make some changes. Well, we also know now that he'd already basically requested the trade back then. So, I mean, so much of this stuff is just posturing for the general public. Fans like all of us, they always want to look as good as they possibly can, and honesty sometimes isn't right there. Will we ever really find the answer? No, everyone's going to have their side of things. The only thing that really matters is that what everyone knew quietly is now out loud, and who's going to come and make the deal to get Connor Hellebuyck out of Winnipeg. There's 31 other GMs. Probably 25 of them won't have a chance to do it because he won't waive to. And can one of those other guys make things happen? Or is it a waiting game for somebody to get hurt, for something to change? And what will Hellebuyck do in the meantime? Does he suck it up? Does he show up here in Winnipeg and try and play his best for the team that he committed an 8-year deal to that hasn't been able to make a trade? Or does he sit back, not play, and wait for the phone to ring? I really don't know. I think both things are on the table right now, but none of it really changes until one of the other GMs says, Chevy, you got a deal, and makes the trade.
Yeah, it's been another addition, new update to Hellebuzz Hustler, and I've updated the graphic here. We've got Hellebuzz. Hellebuyck confirms trade request. We solicited names early this year, Hellebuzz, Helly, Hysteria. I thought this was kind of done. Didn't Elliott have a report earlier this week that it was all quiet, nothing really going on? And then here we are, August 27. Ray Petkow opens his X account and puts out a crafted statement from Connor Hellebuyck. Everyone is talking about this. I'm getting, my phone is blowing up. The chat is here. Very curious what the reaction, what does it mean for his legacy here in Winnipeg? I mean, could he be starting the Heritage Classic? Is there a Coolbet line on that? Do we make it that far? Are people going to boo him in a game? But what's his reaction? What's the tribute video going to be like when he comes back? Does he get traded with another player? And then when they do the tribute video, they do a dual tribute video. Do you think that's going to happen?
You know what? I think it's going to be different from a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's even just we're seeing today. I think there's a lot of Jet fans that are fans that want the best for the team, that sort of understand, where things are at and aren't surprised by this, but still think that the team needs to go out and get the best deal that they can, the one that makes sense for Winnipeg, that hopefully makes the team better moving forward. There is listen, they're the people that are really kind of out there on the political side of things that the minute he got the medal from the Orange Man, were completely out on the guy. I personally think that's insane, but whatever. Had their mind made up before any of this today. And then there's a group of people that are, shall we say, the very disgruntled Jet fans, the ones that, will always point a finger and kind of turn this in a negative for the organization, that will be doing victory laps, that he's going out, kind of prove that they were right, that things aren't going in the right direction. I mean, so I think when he comes back, there's a lot of people that will appreciate the best player that this team has had and will welcome him back. And there'll be others for non-hockey reasons that will be not very pleased. And then there'll be others that are big-time Jet fans that'll feel that, this team, this city, this organization had all the loyalty for him, and he didn't return that, and maybe won't be. Listen, time heals all wounds. The guy was too great here for too long to not be celebrated, I think, in this city. But, I think at one point with the Hearts and everything, we thought, maybe if there was a guy that was going to give Dale Hrabchak some company downtown, it would be a guy in goalie equipment. And needless to say, that ship has sailed on Connor Hellebuyck. But, Remo, let's do this. Impromptu Chudd's Power Sports Power Poll. Shout out to the Derminator and the gang out in Gimli. Chudd's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore. Check them out online, chudspowersports.com, and see them at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Let's do top 5. Blind ranking. I will do this. You will fire it at me. Blind ranking for top 5 destinations for Connor Hellebuyck to be traded to in the National Hockey League. Pittsburgh Penguins. That would make a lot of people happy. The shall we say, the retool group, or sorry, blow it up group, if you will. Because Pittsburgh right now does not have, listen, they had a great season last year, but they don't have, outside of those veteran players like Crosby and Malkin, there's a lot of young players in that organization. Kyle Dubas has been stockpiling picks. He's been, truly doing a full rebuild right now. Well, I shouldn't say full rebuild because they still have Crosby and Malkin, and they've sort of been competitive. Maybe you could call it a retool. But Pittsburgh as a destination, do they seem like a contender now? No. As I say, I'm not sure that's the be-all, end-all of Hellebuyck, but I do think he would want to go to a team that maybe on the surface has a better chance to win the cup. But again, how bad does he want to get out of Winnipeg? I guess we'll find out. I'll go with Pittsburgh. To me, it's lower down on the list. I'll go 4 for Pittsburgh.
Okay, I redid one of the teams, so we'll do Pittsburgh is at 4. The next team is San Jose. When Pittsburgh comes up, I'll put them, but I switched one of them. So San Jose is the next one. Okay, so the Sharks are very interesting. They have spent some money on defense, bringing in Nurse, bringing in Trouba. The part of that is that they've spent a lot of money on those guys that might not be available for a goaltender. But this is a team that I do think can contend quickly with the incredible young talent led by a phenom in Macklin Celebrini. And they do have Askarov, a young goaltender that, could come back to Winnipeg, that I think would be of interest to the Jets, as well as some young pieces. They certainly have picks. San Jose actually makes some sense. I'm going to go, I don't know who the other team, I'm going to go 2 for San Jose. Okay, I'll put San Jose 2. So we have Pittsburgh 4, but I'll fill it in. Carolina's the next one. Well, the Hurricanes are a team that could absolutely make the deal.
There's probably no team with better players on team-friendly contracts. And I don't have it in front of me right now, but I do believe they've done a very good job compared to their contemporaries of not giving out no moves to every single guy that picks up a pen. They are the defending Stanley Cup champions. Anderson is gone, who did the bulk of the work last year. Bussy's back. He had one incredible year. You hope, if you're a Carolina fan, that can repeat itself. But there is a big question mark. We haven't heard a lot of Carolina, but honestly, it does make a lot of sense. And it certainly would get Hellebuyck to the States. And, I mean, is there more a team that is a cup contender than the team that currently has the Stanley Cup? I think I might put Carolina at 1.
Carolina. And then we have Pittsburgh 4, San Jose 2, Carolina 1, New Jersey Devils.
I know a lot of people mention New Jersey. I'm low on New Jersey for a couple of reasons. Number one, everything we hear about Sonny Meta is that he is not one that believes in putting large resources into the goaltending position. And of course, they just traded Jacob Markstrom. The other thing is when you look at the contract setup of the team, they have a ton of guys on no move. I know Dawson Mercer is the one player that is on a relatively affordable contract and has and doesn't have a no move. But overall, it is difficult sort of to find the fit of what New Jersey has. So I think because of those. Now, here's interesting. They do have 2 first-round picks next year. They do have 2 first-round picks in 2028. Next year, they've got theirs in Vegas's. The following year, they have theirs and Colorado's. If they're a playoff team, all those picks are going to be late-round picks. But they are still first-round picks, which is a pretty important currency. And then, you want a top player. Timo Meier, no move. Jack Hughes, no trade. Jesper Bratt, no move. Heischer, no move. I mean, those are the 4 top players. And you go down that list. Dawson Mercer is an RFA at the end of this year, but with arbitration, he's 24. And then obviously you look at the blue line, and the players either have no trades, no moves, or it's Luke Hughes, who's $9 million. And I don't think the Jets want Luke Hughes for $9 million. And probably because of Jack Hughes, they're not trading him either. New Jersey's at 5.
So we have New Jersey 5, Pittsburgh 4, 3 is open, San Jose and Carolina. Buffalo's the only team left.
Buffalo's in at 3. And Buffalo earlier would have been number 1, but they're down behind Carolina and San Jose. I like the way this thing actually turned out because I think if they were going to get the deal done, they had every opportunity to do that when they were the front runner, and they couldn't agree on it. And it doesn't sound like they've really come back afterwards and thought about or made this happen. I still do think if there was one team that the lines of communication were still open, it was Buffalo. But again, we're just about in September. They've made plans. I mean, the Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen 5-team trade request. I think Josh Norris has one as well that is kicked in. Could Winnipeg be one of those 5 teams? If you look at historically, probably. So it does make things a little more difficult to get done. So there you have it. Our Chudd's Power Poll. Carolina number 1, San Jose number 2, Buffalo number 3, Pitt 4, Jersey 5. I actually usually the blind rankings are tough, Remo. I'm actually pretty happy with the way that one turned out.
I think this turned out pretty good. I did have Edmonton in at first, but we had kind of talked with them, and I don't know if they have anything to give up. So I took them out, and I put in San Jose. I do see people in chat putting Utah in there, and I think Utah is interesting. They have a lot of prospects and picks. The Jets do seem to want players that can help them now instead of futures, but I want to say now this is out there, is this going to change what's being offered? And we kind of already discussed that. Seemed to be an open secret. If Kevin Weeks was tweeting out the eyes emoji on end of June, seems like this is something everyone knew. Dave McCarthy had it here April, but now it is official. It is public. Connor Hellebuyck in a well-crafted statement. You know what? I'm going to give a shout-out to Ray Petkow, because if he would have typed it up in the iPhone Notes app and took a screenshot, that would have looked terrible. That's bad. Yeah. That's bad branding. This is a professional statement out there in Jets colors. Credit to that, or Team USA colors if you prefer, with the blue and the white. Nicely good font selection. Didn't put anything crazy. This is a nice statement. Again, not typing it up in Notes app, taking a screenshot and putting it out. So shout out to Ray Petkow.
Yeah, lots of the entire hockey world talking about Hellebuyck right now. All the shows will be talking to us, and Connor's going to jump on EST this afternoon. They want to talk about it, and we'll certainly be getting to it tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward to having Hammer on tomorrow. Hammer will have an interesting viewpoint and take on all of this, and we'll try and load it up and do a little bit more on the Hellebuyck situation tomorrow for the show. Tonight we do have Blue Jays baseball to get to, but tomorrow we will talk Bombers, Alouettes, and maybe a little Helly and Habs with Mo Khan. Hammer's going to join us, and we'll have more on this and reaction from around the league on the official trade request of Connor Hellebuyck. As far as the Coolbet lines go tonight, Blue Jays and Royals, I've got a good feeling about the Jays tonight, and not just a win, but sort of a big win. It's time for the Bats to get going, preferably tonight. As they sit 3 games back of Cleveland, that is on a 7-game winning streak. This is basically a pick 'em. Actually, the Royals -112, Jays -109. Very, very close. The pitching matchup is Spencer Arrighetti, came over from Houston in the Varsho trade, going up against Noah Cameron. Jays money, a run line, +1.5. -1.5 is +185. And if you go into the combo cards, I do have the Ride with Huss, which is Jays by 2 or more, and the Milwaukee Brewers with the Miz on the line. Look at the boost we got, +456. How about +524? So Brewers and Jays both to win by 2 or more runs tonight. That's what I'm rocking. It's in the combo cards at +524. You're also going to want to hit the exclusives. Don't forget about the CFL 110 parlay, which is Montreal -6.5, Calgary -4.5, Toronto +5.5. That one is boosted to +525. And yes, you can still bet Ottawa, perfect season. Can the Red Blacks go 0-18? That one is 9-1, +900 there as well. Don't forget to get your picks in for the CFL Pick'em League. That is open right now. You've got until tomorrow to make your picks. Mine are in. And, of course, get into the NFL futures. As you do your fantasy teams, you pick your guys. You want to bet on a couple guys that have big seasons. The NFL futures tab is packed right now as we get closer to kickoff. Remo, I guess we'll save Andy, or maybe Andy can make a pit stop in tomorrow. We'll talk about the Cleveland Browns. Poor Andy basically got hijacked by Ray Petkow and Connor Hellebuyck this afternoon.
Yeah, and I told Josh Frey-Sam, I'm like, yeah, there's nothing going on in August. We can do a marble race to determine your league's order if you want to still do that and have some fun.
We promised Josh we would.
And he did come on the show, and so he texted me. He's like, hey, does this mean no more race? So we can fire that up. But we can still fart around here for 5 more minutes. I am getting a lot of texts. People are texting me, family members, saying, wow, you must be pretty pumped in the bump of viewership over this Hellebuyck trade request. I'm like, I can't deny it's been a bump. But there was actually something I wanted to bring up with you, and you posed this question earlier in the show. when was the last time the Bombers were this big of an underdog at home?
Yeah.
Derek Taylor has that information, put it out on X. The last time they were this big a home underdog, week 1 of 2018, they were +7 against Edmonton. The last time they were a bigger underdog, 2015, week 14 versus Calgary. They were +9. And credit to DT. I don't know how he had that information so available, but I mean, it's been a while since the Bombers
took some work. Either that or Chad GPT went to work and dug it up. Although it is difficult to get like retroactive lines on every game that has been played. But yeah, Bombers a big dog tomorrow. Be nice if they could give Winnipeg fans something really to be happy about, because I know there's a lot of people that are not in a great mood right now. Now that any facade that Hellebuyck didn't want out or wouldn't be traded was still there. That has left the building, and now we've got another public trade request from Hrabchak. I do wonder if the Jets were expecting this, because as I said, like, I'm not sure how much. Like, the Jets knew that he wanted out. Everybody else in the league knew that they wanted out. Like, I'm not entirely sure what this does, other than maybe selfishly, it just gives us lots to talk about and gets more people in on the conversations. Maybe we should be thanking Hrabchak today, Remis.
Oh, we're going to come up with Instagram Reels, so follow us on there. I'll probably post this with a juicy thumbnail on YouTube, your conversation with Ken. And we do have a poll now. What should the Jets do now? 21% say trade him ASAP, get him out of here, even if it's not the right deal. 73% say, hey, let's wait for the right deal. 2% try to change his mind. 4% let it play out. I guess that means, like, do nothing. Just wait and see, and something will happen on its own. So majority saying, hey, you know what? Doesn't really change your stance before. Wait for the right deal, and maybe something comes along. This does put a bit more pressure, but I do think it now Hellebuyck kind of looks like, does he look like the bad guy in terms of the fan base, or is it the Jets who, had this season last year, one of the bigger steps back from a President's Trophy winner in league history?
Yeah, well, no, for sure. Listen, last year was tough, and that surgery that he elected to have when they had it, like, I don't know, man, that 9-3 start, I think, just sort of, it changed the way everyone was looking at the team. And listen, a bunch of the young guys were playing at that point. And the minute everybody came back, went down. But obviously, Helly being gone for the amount of time that he was out didn't help things. That's when the 11-game losing streak started. And then he came back and wasn't able to stop the bleeding either. So, it was just listen, it was the worst case scenario last year in so many different ways. But this, for a lot of fans, is worst case scenario, that the best player to wear a Jet jersey over the course of 15 years, and arguably ever, certainly the most decorated, has gone public with his wanting out of Winnipeg. Remo, set that up for Josh. And we are going to do, I know we promised to do a few draft orders for people. This is Josh Frey-Sam's fantasy league. So good luck to all of the fellas in this one. We're using twists and turns. If somehow somebody's out, the final draft order, guys, the final results will be the results at the end. So if someone gets popped, if two people get popped, whoever is out first finishes lower in the standings. All right. Let her rip, and we'll see where Josh and his boys are doing their draft order. We're doing Twists and Turns, which is a low elimination track with a very, very good big funnel to start things off. We got Eric, Nate, Noel, Cause, Brody, Corey, Josh, Jesse. Was that Nuts? No, Hutch.
Hutch, yeah. No, Chudd. There's Chutz, or is it Chuts? I'm not sure. Chutz?
Oh, yeah, Chutz and Hush.
Yeah.
Chutz actually...
Chutz, yeah.
The good start is big. If you can get out of the fennel first, you're probably going to do pretty well. All right, Chutz and Eric right now in first. They've gone different ways. Chutz is on the left, Eric's on the right, and now they're all back into the big funnel, going through a few of these options, or the obstacles, I should say, very smoothly into the next funnel. Wow, Hutch with an incredible transition, just blew past Eric, Brody, and Chutz. Hutch in first right now as we go down to this next funnel.
There's a Brody and a Brady as well, Huss. I don't know if you can see that. 3 and 4.
Hutch came in too hot there, and Chutz was able to run past him. Here comes Chutz in first place, and he had the speed. But he's still in first. But this is close. Chutz, Hutch, Brody. Brody and Brady.
Oh.
That is difficult to figure out. Nice transitions for Chutz and Brody. It's Brody. It's Brady. It's Eric. Chutz and Brody. Who's getting in first? This is it for the first pick. Chutz is first. Brody's second. Brady's third. Eric 4. Cause 5. Josh 6. Noel 7. Corey 8. And Hutch and Nate are figuring it out. There's Hutch. There's Nate. There's Bryce. And Jesse. We didn't hear much of Bryce or Jesse through that play. They were basically where Connor and I were with our one. All right, so Josh, here is your league's official order. Chutz, Brody, Brady, Eric, Cause, Josh, Noel, Corey, Hutch, Nate, Bryce, Jesse. Good luck to all of you in your fantasy football season. And again, next week, I will be away, but if you do have a request and maybe want to do that for your group, fire us an email or get in touch with us, Winnipeg Sports Talk @gmail.com. All right, we should get this podcast up. There'll be lots of demand for that today. But we'll be back tomorrow. We got a game day, Bombers and Alouettes. And of course, we have marbles. And we've got much more to talk about on the Connor Hellebuyck front. So we'll let you go with this. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. I'm sure, by the way, we'll have a Connor Hellebuyck market at Coolbet tomorrow. That should be fun. Not really to talk about, but many of you will want to get in on it. But we'll be talking Bombers, game day, more on the Hellebuyck trade request, Goldeyes weekend, finishing off the finale of the regular season at home, and much, much more. In the meantime, if you're watching this after the fact, give us your thoughts. Leave a comment on today's show on YouTube on the Hellebuyck trade request. And we thank you all for hanging out. Great stuff in the chat today. Great to see a few of you that have been on summer vacation come back a little early. Join us tomorrow, 1 o'clock, for the latest on the Hellebuyck trade request, the Winnipeg Jets, the Bombers, and much more right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.